Evening, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well out there tonight. I see a lot of people. I see, oh my gosh, Scott, you didn't have to do that. It's very kind, sir. Why? Because that's why. Yeah, so everybody's out there tonight. Keith Holmesley is in the chat. KBA, Drew G, Bjorn, Mark Pearson, Robert Turner, Tim Hayes, Your Old Toys, Perth Comics, World Made of Cardboard, Scott Hughes, of course, The Canuck, Todd Smith, Godzilla Master, Kenny Long is here, Rob K. Wow, there's a lot of people in the chat tonight. Let's see, Jeremy Jernigan is in the house, representing Dragonheart as always. That's not shade, by the way. It's just, that's your trademark now. Cringe Topher is here. Hayden is here. Jesse Guardo is here. Let's see. Joe DeBecke is here. Wow. Okay. Master Son 42 is here. Venkman is here. Good Lord. Wolfie is here. Scott Knudsen is here. Mike Hinkson is here. Impossible Pie is here. There's a lot of people here. If I missed your name, I did not mean to. Jose is here. IHB Deadly is here. Jeremy Jernigan, thank you so much. He says, I have it on good authority that Scott willed the stream into existence. You might be right. Let's see. I will not comply. 007 is here. Brick Trick is here. Ronald is here. Frode Fender is here. Let's see. Wow. Okay. So Necro Boogie is here. Joshua Allington is here. Knights of Old is here. 80s Guy is here. Victorian Sword is here. Wow. Man of Action is here. I wish there was, man. I really wish there was. Unfortunately, all lines of communication between me and that company, as well as a lot of other paying customers in that company, have been cut off. I don't feel uncomfortable saying it's a scam at this point. Oh yeah, so Suka, here's what I think about those. First of all, thanks everyone for joining me tonight for my random Michael is bored live stream, which, you know, I don't do these very often because normally I'm working my butt off on something, so I'm technically not bored. But Lio Convoy is here. Greg Fenstad is here. Holy crap. But tonight, February was like just a month of just one hurdle after another and just crazy stuff. And so I, you know, came into March and I'm just like, twiddling my fingers, you know, tapping my fingers, trying to figure out what I'm going to be doing with my month and trying to get my videos back on track. But yeah, so to answer your question, Suka, have you noticed how none of the retro indies that they've announced for the retro line since the original remake indie, none of the new ones are coming with a bullwhip accessory? They have the hook on the belt because they're just using the redone Kenner legs, but they're not coming with a whip. So it's like Temple of Doom indie should come with a whip. Last Crusade indie should come with a whip. They're not. The other figures. Oh, and that's the other thing too. Why is it that the Last Crusade indie is the only one to come with a shoulder bag? Because the Temple of Doom one isn't. The original Kenner one didn't. So we thought that that's why they weren't bringing in a shoulder bag. And now suddenly Last Crusade indie has the shoulder bag, even though Temple of Doom indie with the ripped shirt and everything on the bridge would have been the one you should have had the shoulder bag with, because he has that whole scene with Molaram pulling at the bag and they're fighting over it. These are the decisions at Hasbro that baffle me. But yeah, so the other figures, they look fine for what they are. It's nice to see a short round retro. I am noticing a distinct lack of the other trifecta characters. So like we're getting a Last Crusade Sala. I believe that's in the retro line, but we're not getting a Willy or an Elsa, which is weird. Good evening, Lio Convoy. Good to see you. We are talking. Well, the main thing IHB we're talking about tonight is we're talking about this this article that I'm going to read from Kotaku about all these Funko Pops that are being thrown into a landfill. Which, if you know anything about the channel, you'll know that I've been following this for quite a while. This whole Funko Pop as garbage thing. I'm on the record from at least 6 years ago saying that these things were garbage. So now it's all just cosmic poetry. Hello, I'm not a troller. Welcome. Let's see. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. All right. Ricky Prickles, good to see you. Damien, good to see you. Vinny Boomba, good to see you. David Lombardo, Zoran. All right, here we go. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that. The reason I have my hat on tonight is because I've had my hat on all day because I was doing a lot of driving around town and my hair is all messed up. So I'm just going to keep my hat on tonight while I do the stream. So that way I don't look like a complete weirdo. People will just say, oh, he's wearing a hat. So Venkman, thank you for the super chat. He says, how's your Dick Tracy radio watch from a few years ago? Still working fine. Yeah, they work fine. The batteries in them tend to die pretty quickly because of the size that they use. But it's, yeah, I need to get some batteries replaced, but they're doing good. They're doing good. Sorry, it's doing good. Got a few scratches on it from when I wanged myself on the handle of a door in an office building. It was amazing. Somehow I managed not to hit the smooth part of the handle. I hit the lock key teeth. And that's just my luck. But otherwise, it's all good. Now, that whole subject about AI, that's an interesting thing because AI seems to be taking over everything at this point. Art, audio, you name it, video and animation and all that kind of stuff. It can even write books for you now. So I'm sure it could in some ways assist in fan-made toys. Maybe by auto CADing something for you, possibly. I think there's still going to have to be a human element, just like with AI art, though. They're going to have to keep adjusting it. There's always got to be there's always going to have to be a human in there until it gets so effective that it becomes Skynet, and then we're all doomed. I hope she is watching. I hope she is. You're welcome. I will not comply. You're very welcome. You're neither here nor there about the AI thing or something else. Thank you, Impossible Pie. Very, very kind. Yes, I'm looking forward to Valifair a lot. I've been asked to be on a stream, as anybody who's seen the announcement knows. I'm really excited about that. So I will be part of Valifair this weekend. So that will be a really nice time. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, it's all phoning in right now. I mean, I know that they just showed that comic book Black Widow with the new redesigned female body or whatever that's supposed to have amazing articulation and everything. But then my question is it going to be $35.99 just like the PlayStation Spider-Man is? Yeah, Tim, it's only the Raiders one that comes with one. Only the Retro Collection Raiders figure comes with a whip. It's so dumb. What would it take to fix BD? You mean like Blu-ray discs? Or are you talking about BV, which is Broken Vader? There is a Toy Polloi video about how to fix those arms. It's not so much what would it take. It's about what would the consequences be if I did that. Yeah, I wondered that myself, Adam. I'm glad I'm not the only one that saw that. Yeah, the original Kenner is really cool, as is Stan Solo's extension of the Kenner line with his efforts, for sure. I don't know if it is completely body swapping on that indie line. I'm actually really disappointed that Kenner didn't make any efforts to extend the hyper articulated 3 3/4 inch line that they did for 2008, because that was the most comprehensive figure line for indie that's ever been done. This would have been the prime opportunity to keep that line going. In other words, pick it up where they left off, re-release a few things that they know people missed out on the first time, and then keep going with that line rather than split their focus between retro and 6-inch. I just think it needs to be differentiated in the marketplace. And I'll say this, I think Indiana Jones would have been an amazing 3 3/4 inch line, hyper articulated like they were back in 2008, to bring back out and keep expanding on, because they would have been a lot of fun to play with the Jurassic Park Legacy Collection, because those are 3 3/4 inch, now called the Hammond Collection or something. Like those really have like the same kind of high, adventure, format. So like I'd love to have Alan Grant and Indiana Jones running from dinosaurs or something, but unfortunately Hasbro is in a lane and they're just playing that tired playbook. Let's do 6-inch, let's do some retro. All right, let's look at this. Well, wait for it. They will. I'm sure it'll happen. Yeah, and you have to buy, Suka, you'll have to buy the TLC Indy 3 times just to get enough shoulder bags to put with the other two, which is also the only way. So yeah, you'll have, no, that's what's crazy. You've brought up a good point. You'll have to buy 3 Last Crusade indies, and then you'll have to buy 3 Raiders indies to get enough bullwhips and shoulder bags to outfit all 3. Well done. Well done, Hasbro. Well done. Okay. Let's look at this. I'm going to read this it's from Kotaku. And let me see. Which Indiana Jones toys, Jesse? The old ones, like the vintage ones, the 2008 ones? Which ones? Oh, really? Which one would that be? Chris, let me know. Thank you. Thank you. This is an Ad Vintage. This is from Ad Vintage. He is, in my opinion, the very first Hatter since 1981 to master the Raiders of the Lost Ark hat. I haven't seen anybody else come close, including the original makers, who couldn't even get it right for Temple of Doom or Last Crusade. Like, it's like they did that for the first movie and then they forgot how to do it. Ad Vintage out of Germany is the way to go. So, dude, Sal, that is okay. I just went live just a few minutes ago. It is fine. Yeah, so here we go. So this is the Kotaku article. The title is "Over 30 million worth of Funkos are headed to the landfill." The company that makes Funko Pop collectibles is in so much trouble, it's preparing to throw hundreds of thousands of its pop culture-inspired figurines into the garbage. Funko revealed the plans in a recent earnings call filled with so much bad news, its stock price fell off a cliff the next day. Inventory at year-end totaled $246.4 million, an increase of 48% compared to a year ago, the company wrote in a press release on Wednesday. This includes inventory that the company intends to eliminate in the first half of 2023 to reduce fulfillment costs by managing inventory levels to align with the operating capacity of our distribution center. Can we follow the corporate speak at this point? This is expected to result in a write-down in the first half of 2023 of approximately $30 to $36 million. Translation: Funko's warehouses are overflowing with 5-inch chibi replicas of Machine Gun Kelly, Spider-Man, Pikachu, and every other vaguely famous cultural icon, and throwing them out will be cheaper than trying to sell them. During a call with investors, CEO Brian Mariotti said a new distribution center in Arizona was so full that the company has been bleeding cash renting shipping containers to hold all of the excess inventory. Mariotti arrived just last year amid an executive shakeup following increasingly bad earnings news. The stock price cratered last November when Funko slashed its financial output for the year and fell by another 25% this week as the company revealed it would also lay off 10% of its employees. Part of what seems to be going on here is that the supply chain shortages, combined with extra income and time at home during the early pandemic years, spurred a temporary run on Funko Pop sales, just like they spurred a number of people jumping into the toy collecting space and starting YouTube channels about toys because everybody was trying to find something to do. Now that the initial rush has subsided, the company has a ton of extra stock at the same time sales are dropping. It's also hard not to wonder if the entire bobblehead redux has hit peak saturation. We're now on the 3rd season of The Mandalorian. How many more little green Grogus do people need? Funko Pop collectibles have long been propped up by a secondary speculators market, which tries to stay ahead of the curve on which release will end up being rare and valuable in the future. A pair of Willy Wonka Funko Pops recently went for $100,000. If you have that kind of money to burn on those, you should be trying to solve world hunger. I said it. Over the long run, 99% of Funkos are worthless outside of whatever depraved joy fans get from occasionally making eye contact with the ones lining their shelves. And now a ton more of them appear headed for a landfill somewhere in Arizona, just like the ET thing in New Mexico, the ET cartridge. May our future ancestors or the aliens excavating our civilization sometime in the distant future forgive us. Thank you, Samuel. Why collect something cool like superpowers when you can collect tubs instead? Yeah. Thank you, 80s guy. Thank you. Yes, and I am ready for Toylanta, Matthew. I am very much ready for Toylanta. I'll be there with Scott Hughes that Saturday. Okay, so maybe it is kismet that I happen to be sort of Indiana Jones tonight when we're talking about possibly excavating landfills again in the future for, I'm not going to call it treasure because I'll throw up in my mouth a little bit, but definitely something lost. Yes, Eric, this is a Raiders hat, specifically Raiders of the Lost Ark. Some people think when I say Raiders hat, I mean just Indiana Jones hat, and that is not the case. The Raiders hat is specific to that film. So yes. No Impossible Pie, not really. I love Batman 89 as a movie, and I have some of the toys from back in the day, the Toy Biz and the Dark Knight collection, and I have the Batman Returns stuff, which I like Batman Returns because Keaton is still in the role, and I love Michelle Pfeiffer in that film, so I have all that stuff, but I've never really gone out and bought modern recreations of the 89 Batman stuff because I've been so busy trying to get other stuff, so I'm not about to jump in now, but it does look nice. The status of the Gunstar ship, Shakel, is that I am finishing up the freeze chamber to get it ready for being on camera, and then I will go ahead and start working on the Gunstar. So it's going to be a little while longer. I'm just doing a stream, Douglas. I'm not involved in it. When I say involved, I'm not like organizing it or anything. I'm just on a stream this weekend for Valifair, and then I'll be at Joe Fest probably one day in June, but I'm not involved with that. You're welcome, Daniel. You're welcome. Good to see you, Dan. Yeah, so here's well, the thing, KBA, is that they did make Marion for Raiders. So Willie and Elsa, I feel like, should be there. If they ever do retro Crystal Skull figures, which why would they do that? That's another hamper of laundry. Chat GPT assured me that AI would not take over the world. You brave man, Kenny, brave man. Well, Soul, glad to see you here. So this whole thing with these Funkos, right? This is the Beanie Babies thing all over again. And a lot of us were saying that years ago. Like when the Funko Pops became a thing, like the first time they showed up, we were all like, "Oh, that's Beanie Babies of the 2010s or whatever it was, or 2000s. That's the 21st century Beanie Baby right there." And everybody else was like, "Hey, don't yuck other people's yums. Don't take away other people's joy. If it brings them joy, then that's all that matters." And it's like, that sounds great. But a lot of people get caught up in that crap, just like they did with Beanie Babies, and they start buying them both for the love and on speculation, and end up spending tons trying to collect them all in the hopes that they will eventually retire on Funko Pops, just like people thought they would retire on Beanie Babies. But it never works that way, because all of these types of curio collectibles, they all operate on a mercenary premise, which is make something for the lowest cost possible, charge as much as we can get away with for it, crank out as many of them as we can, number them to make sure that people feel enticed or obligated to find them all. And eventually what happens is these companies always overproduce. The market goes crazy for them. The stupid pie slice of the market goes like hyper crazy for them, inflates the prices beyond belief, and then the whole thing collapses on itself. This is Beanie Babies all over again, which is why I torched that whole Tubbs rubber ducks thing, because I'm like, this is the same business model. Do something really, really curio, precious moments collectible, and see how many people you can get to buy them, and see how many you can crank out, and then exit stage left before the whole thing collapses. Which I also find funny is that they're having to destroy 30 to 35 million worth in product because they have overproduced these things. It now costs them more to store them than it does to just try and sell them. That ain't a good sign. And it reminds me of what Warner Brothers has been doing, like saying, we finished the Batgirl movie, but we're not going to release it. We're going to write it off as like a tax write-off. It's amazing. It's amazing how so many people think that these things, oh, no, you shouldn't yuck people's yums. You should just let them have their joy. And it's like, it's not about that person. It's about what this business model's precedent is, and acknowledging that so that we can all be smarter consumers and have a more intelligent voice at the table. But, Brick Trick, was Darth Vader better as a fleshed out character or a terrifying villain? Terrifying villain, because the way they fleshed out his character. I personally don't think the prequels were even worth telling. My whole take on that is, if you decided to start in the middle of the story because that was the most interesting part, and that's what they did, they were like, we're going to start here and not there. That stuff wasn't even fully written out yet, but you know what I mean. This is the interesting part. Let's work here. Then maybe that other stuff isn't even worth telling. Like, more people have read Lord of the Rings than have read the Silmarillion. Now, I'm not taking any brilliance away from Tolkien's Silmarillion. It's a brilliant piece of imagination and thought and linguistics and everything else. It's a Herculean feat. But by and large, you don't have to read it in order to appreciate and understand everything going on in Lord of the Rings. I will never say that the Silmarillion is anywhere near. It is a brilliant work. It is not bad like the prequels, but it has the same handicap. It's like, if you're starting here, do you really need to write that? And, officially, Tolkien was just writing it for himself. Anyway, I don't know how I got off on that tangent. Let's see. Joe says, exactly, Michael. And with this economy and their numbers, you can guarantee Hasbro is and will phone it in. Yeah, they will. I will try, Matt. I will try to get bored more often. Bradshaw Studios, thank you for the super sticker. Very, very, very kind. Tim, when I was really involved in the Indiana Jones groups and message boards 20 years ago, I used to get those comments from people where they would see my photos and stuff, and they'd be like, "Man, like, you've got like you don't have to get like the extra size shirt or the extra size pants. Like, you just kind of fit in there." I'm more of a Jimmy Stewart build, but yeah, I am glad. Yeah. Because when you take a photograph, it adds 10 pounds to you. So, let's see. Not really sure what that means, but okay. Bob Hoskins? What? Okay. Let's see. Ronald, thank you for the kind super chat. He says, as jank as the retro indie line seems, I'll still probably collect it since the few other indie toy lines are either out of my price range or just don't interest me. Hope Stan Solo keeps doing indie stuff. I do too. I hope this doesn't put like a damper on his ambitions with his stuff, because his stuff, whatever he makes, is going to be superior in every way to anything Hasbro is attempting. You were referring to the new Indiana Jones toys. Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, the new stuff from Hasbro, like Dungeons and Dragons and everything, is breaking like that. So it's bad. Cringe-defer says, I'll admit to having one Funko Pop, but on the whole, they're pretty soulless products, and the fact that they're everywhere speaks to their quantity over quality practices. Yep. That's a great point to make, Cringe-defer. If you have had an interest in any one particular or handful of maybe Funko Pop characters for a particular franchise that you really have an interest in, like I don't fault anybody for that. Like, some of these Funko Pops are for characters that haven't ever gotten an action figure line. So like, if you're a massive MacGyver fan or something, I think they made a MacGyver Funko Pop. If you are a MacGyver fan and you haven't gotten that Funko Pop yet, wait for this market to collapse like Beanie Babies did. Don't buy them right now. Like, wait, because people will liquidate their stupid collections, and then you can go out there and get that one that you really wanted for a percentage of what it was going for at the height of the market. But yeah, Ronald, just to go back to your super chat, yeah, I think Stan Solo does the best stuff. And I might pick up like the short round if I can see it in person and it isn't terrible. Might. But those indies with no whips and the other indies with no shoulder bags, it's almost not worth getting into for the price they're charging versus what they're giving you. Yeah. Although, Rob, I did read this whole thing about how stopping beavers from building dams actually hurts the environment. So maybe organic dams that beavers create would actually be a more beneficial thing to do. In other words, rather than have all this plastic sitting in the water slowly decomposing and breaking down, we just let beavers do their thing. Yeah, it was bound to happen. This is the way these types of collectibles always go every time. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be digging these up. I really don't. Yeah. Well, Atari Boy, if it ever comes out, I might look at it and see what it's like, but I've already got all those figures vintage several times over, so it's a low priority for me, but I would be curious to see what their quality is for sure. Scott Knudsen, thank you for the super chat. I wonder if 40 years from now, someone will make a documentary about digging those pops up like they did with the Atari ET games. Somebody will. And it's because our nostalgia isn't the next generation's nostalgia. As stupid as Funko Pops are, somebody will want to try and recapture that. You know, they've just remade the Motorola Razr, like a new version of the Motorola Razr flip phone. Because to Zoomers, that phone is now nostalgic. To Zoomers and late millennials, that phone is nostalgia. The Razr phone. I still have a Razr flip phone from back when they were originally available. I never turned it in. I've got one because I switched providers. I'm waiting for the day when I find out that I can sell that phone with its original accessories for like, you know, $3,000 or something like that. Korean Cardboard, good to see you. Do you have any Japanese issued figures, SH Figure Arts? I have an SH Figure Arts that Lio Convoy got me of Goku from Dragon Ball Z. That's the only one I have. Or no, that's not true. I have 1 or 2 Power Rangers, I believe. That sounds right. I have at least 1 Power Ranger and I have Goku. But I don't have very many beyond that. Yeah, like shocker, right? I agree, Keith. I agree. Yeah, Tenko. I mean, like that would be the way to go. Like keep the ones that actually mean something to you or tied to your most treasured franchises. That's if you like the way they look. Like, so for example, I really, really love Sarah Jane Smith from Doctor Who, but I did not like that Funko Pop. Not just because, like, I don't like Funko Pops in general, but even with that, Sarah Jane Smith stuff is so hard to come by that when they made her in the classic version for that line, for Funko Pops, I was like, well, if it doesn't suck, then maybe I'll pick that one up. This was years ago. And then when I saw it, I was like, nope, it still doesn't do nothing for me. So I didn't get it. Michael Hinkson, thank you for the super chat. He says, I see the bubble at Funko has finally popped. You nailed it. Thank you, Jeff McElwee. Hope all is well with you too. Things are going okay. Gower Lady, this reminds me of those who thought they could put their kids through college buying and selling Beanie Babies. Something is worth whatever someone else is worth paying. Yeah. And the bottom always falls out of it. It always falls out of it. What FOMO was Funko runningeth? Yeah. Let's see. Damien, I mentioned just a few minutes ago that I'm working on getting that playset prepped up, the full playset for the final video, because I have all of it. So yeah, I have, I will be doing an update video ASAP. It's just, there's some work that has to go into it. I want to get to it as soon as I can. Thank you, Impossible Pie. Much appreciated. The hat to rule them all. Yeah. According to Deborah Nadelman, the Raiders hat at Herbert Johnson, she always refers to it when she recollects it. I interviewed her for the Raider.net. She keeps referring to it as their Australian model, which is what Mr. Swales, who's now deceased, was calling it, I guess, allegedly, back when she was at Herbert Johnson trying to get Harrison Ford fitted. Yeah, it was called their Australian model. And then after that, for Temple of Doom and Last Crusade, everybody said that those two films used what was called the Herbert Johnson Poet. And nobody could figure out if the Poet was their Australian model. The Poet is also the one worn by Tom Baker in Doctor Who in the very beginning of his run. When he first showed up in the role, and he did his first season, that hat that he's wearing is a Poet with an uncut brim. It's like the Indiana Jones brim on the Poet is cut. But we don't know for sure with any definitive certainty, although Herbert Johnson claims the poet is the Raiders hat, just with a different shaping. The fact that they couldn't recreate it one movie later makes some of us think that their Australian model and their poet were two different hats. So there's no way to really suss that out. Well, this is the streets of Cairo. Can't you tell? See, look at that dimple on the side and the turned brim and all that stuff. Yeah. This is the Streets of Cairo hat. This is Advintage's Streets of Cairo indie hat. Now, if you are not recognizing it because it's not covered in dirt, I don't do that. I like my hats to wear in naturally. Doing good, Murray. Doing good. No, they didn't sew the hat on, Harrison. They didn't do that. But the hat wears pretty well by and large. It doesn't move when it fits right. Michael, do you think it has more to do with Funko taking out too many properties that didn't have a buying audience? Very possibly, yes. Yes. That's the licensing fees they paid. I can't imagine. Like, they were chasing everything. So I'm really not sure how they pulled that off. I would have to believe somewhere in their books they are over leveraged financially. Let's see. Tenko, thank you for the super chat. He says, any update on the Kenner scale Cloud City? Yes, I'm working on that video. I'm hoping to get it done here within the next month or so. Let's see. I don't think I'll be coming to Florida next weekend. I don't think so. Haven't been able to budget for that. Robert Diaz, thank you for the super chat. He says, I think Funko's biggest issue is over licensing. They likely scooped up way too many obscure licenses for speculation. Agreed. Okay. Kate Blanchett figure with a Mo haircut. Yeah, I mean, if you want that for the retro line, or their 6-inch series, I guess. She's certainly the main villain of Crystal Skull. So, yeah, exactly, Steve. They slapped too many Playmate Star Trek figures out into the market, and to this day, most of them are still very affordable. Which, again, it's not all about value. I mean, at least those figures all had nice presentation, came with a lot of accessories, all that kind of stuff. Brian Dillingham, thank you for the Dillinghamism. Very kind, sir. Thank you so much. Let's see. About an Empire version of Star Wars Blueprints. There is an Empire Blueprint set. I'm pretty sure there is. Yeah. I seem to remember that the cover of it is like a blue architectural grid with white lines and the AT-ATs drawn on it. I don't own it, but I'm pretty sure it exists. Headcanon, thank you for the super chat. He says maybe Funko should try windowless packaging or crowdfund a Funko Lab project. Oh God, can you? This is Advintage, Jan. This is Advintage. He is the only person that has mastered the Raiders hat. You quote me on that. I've been looking for the Raiders hat my whole life, and he finally did it. He cracked the code. How much does it cost to have someone yum your yuck? You know what? That's between you and whatever deal you made in that alley. Who wore it? Who welter the better? Do you mean who wore it better? The Cylons were the flashiest. I thought they were cool as hell. Stormtroopers will always be my nostalgic favorite. Snell's World, thank you for the super chat. He says, I couldn't get rid of my Funko Pops. I ended trading 35 Funko Pops for a Masters of the Universe Classics movie He-Man. You probably got the better end of that deal, honestly. Honestly. How do I send negative money for the prequel hate? It's not hate. It's a philosophical point that I'm trying to make. Ask yourself, if they're not willing to start the story there, do you ever have to relate those events? Because if you can start the story right here where you thought was the middle and that becomes the beginning, do you really even need the rest of it? I know that's a tough thing to twist the Rubik's Cube on, but I feel it's worth exploring as a philosophical concept. How old are you, Phil? How old are you? That's what I want to know. Because if it's a nostalgia thing, then go with God. I'm referring to all this stuff. And here's the thing. For those of you that maybe you're not familiar with me yet, everybody in the chat, just kind of let them know. I'm not your typical YouTuber, like in the nostalgia space. I'm not going to sit here. I'm going to have an adult conversation with you. I'm not saying you can't enjoy it. I'm not trying to take your favorite teddy bear away, but I'm going to have a real conversation with you in the tone of an adult human. I'm not going to be Ronald McDonald the clown for you and make everything fun and blah, 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 blah. So if you're going to ask me about the prequels, don't ask me the question unless you're prepared for the answer. And then we can have a conversation, but it's got to be honest. I think I just answered that, Gen 1. Samuel, thank you for the super chat. He says, what vendors have you bought Superpowers repro? I haven't bought Superpower repros. I've never bought Superpower repro anything. I think the McFarlane Batwing is chintzy. It's a good price point, but it's chintzy. Favorite Batman artist is probably Neil Adams. Favorite weird Kenner Batman variant. Probably that. I would say probably the one in like the Toxo suit, the chemical suit, or maybe the snow one, the Arctic one. I don't really remember them all that well. I'll do my best, Bjorn. I'll answer the next question that way. Hey, Maki, good to see you, man. Cape Master, that's very, very kind of you. Wow. That's very humbling. The email address is retroblasting@gmail.com. Please feel free to send me a message and we can talk. That's very kind of you. Bradshaw Studios, thank you for the very kind super chat. Lio Convoy. So when's the next video? The next video is the Beastmasters. The next video is the Beast Wars video. I wasn't lying. I've got it set up in there. I've already filmed it. I've got to edit it. And I'm hoping that it will be done this weekend. So stay tuned. I got held up with a bunch of stupid BS last week. I had everything set up and I was good to go, and then life got in the way. But I promise you, Lio, that is the next video coming. So well, Tim, I don't know what to tell you, but we're all built differently, man. Like, I don't know exactly what that comment means, but we don't always have a choice, let's see. Oh, Kenny says that Cocaine Bear was good. Scott Knudsen, thank you for the super chat. He says, on reflection, you know what grinds my gears? Instead of dumping them, couldn't they back the trucks up to a children's hospital or a homeless shelter? or is that too much effort? That I agree with that. Like, I've never understood why these companies have to destroy their products because of some fear of litigation or something. The whip always comes with self-inflicted pain. Always. And it takes years to get around that. I was really nervous when people were reacting to that video, asking me to do a video showing them how to do stuff, because the last thing I want are some of these crazy, people hitting themselves, even though I tell them I'm not responsible for anything that happens to you. You need to wear eye protection. If you don't know how to do this, you need to do all this stuff to just be safe. And then they don't do it. And then because they're not good at it, instincts kick in, because bullwhips are very counterintuitive at first. One of the things I always tell people is the one way to guarantee to only hit yourself 5% of the time is to learn never to pull your arm back. After you throw it out, don't pull your arm back. It's not a towel. You don't do this with it. It's not a towel. You throw your arm out and you leave it out, regardless of whether or not you succeed at the move, until you get good at it, until you master that, and then you move on to the next thing. But a lot of people their brains aren't wired that way yet. And so they pull it back into their face, or they pull it back into their arm, or they pull it back, across their back. It happens. I know. So it's just trying to tell people there's way too much liability in trying to do an instructional video on how to use a bullwhip on YouTube. You've seen the hate I get for things that aren't even my fault. Can you imagine? I've never understood, why they don't donate those to kids. It's so mercenary. Somebody cooking the books just to save a nickel. That's right. We did call it. And we did give plenty of warning. You and me both. Feelings on Masters of the Universe Origins. I don't like how they've gotten distracted by all these characters that aren't in the original line when they haven't finished the original line yet. And I also don't like the fact that they've stripped out the gimmicks. They were doing really well with updated gimmicks. And now all of a sudden, they're not doing gimmicks anymore. They're just doing pop-ons and stuff. It's a real cheap way out. So it's really unfortunate, and I'm disappointed, but I will, because I'm so far in, I will get the Snake Mountain, any other original vehicles that are reimagined, and any other original figures that were reimagined or redesigned. But I'm not going to be getting any of I didn't get Frogmonger. I'm not getting any more of the Sunman stuff. I'm just looking at Hasbro. I'm looking at Mattel and saying, give me the figures from the original line you still haven't done, and then I'm going to call it quits. So let's see. What do you think of, let's see. Michael, are they going to make more 3D prints of Star Wars playsets? Who? Are you talking about Joe Dickerson? Because I'm not sure what Joe's plans are, but I'm not sure what his plans are, but I would think that there's a lot of makers out there on Etsy right now doing all kinds of amazing things. So you got to keep your eye on Etsy and places like that, and eBay, to see what people are making. There's new stuff coming around all the time. So let's see here. I'm trying to find out, because I want to make sure that I'm not, I just want to make sure that I'm not stepping on anybody's toes here real quick. Let's see. Oh, I guess. Oh, no, that is tomorrow. Yeah, that's tomorrow. Okay, I'm good. God, I had a heart attack for a minute. I thought I actually was stepping on Valifair. Whew. Thought for a minute it was Friday. It's not Friday. It's Thursday. Thank God. Yeah. but yes, you got to stay on top of all the maker stuff because people are coming up with cool stuff all the time. Hayden, thank you for the super chat. He says, I'll probably have to get a summer job just so I can afford those Avengers anniversary figures. Although it's the one time no reveal disappointed me. Good. I'm looking forward to seeing what they eventually show us for the Winter Soldier redos on Black Widow and Cap. I'd really like those. It's gonna be a really nice upgrade to my collection. Ronald, thank you for the super chat. He said the Lego indie sets from the late 2000s really did things right if you ever checked them out. But oh my god, the money. Yeah, that's why I didn't get them. You know, the only thing to me worth getting from that line would be the flying wing because it's one of the few things that, you know, but Lego to me doesn't capture Indiana Jones for me the way a proper action figure would. So, you know, are you talking about Voltron? What's Votoms, Maki? The guy with no name, thank you for the super chat. Will you reconsider buying the Hyperreal Bespin Luke? I have one. Somebody was kind enough to donate it to the channel a year or two ago. I've never taken it out of the box, and I'm not going to because I just don't know what's going to happen with that material. World Made of Cardboard, thank you for the super chat. He says, centuries from now, archaeologists will dig them up and think they're weird fertility idols. They will make the 25th Indiana Jones about them. Yeah, you're not wrong. Jeff McElwee, thank you for the super chat. He says, told you about my dive into vintage Empire Strikes Back. Got the ones I wanted except for Bespin Luke. Damn figure eludes me in all forms. Really? Where are you searching? Because he was one of the most prolifically made figures in the Empire line. He's not considered rare. So let me know where you're looking. Holy crap. Flood123, thank you so much for the very kind super chat. I don't comment very often. I just want to say that I really enjoy your channel. Been a fan for a while now. You hooked me with the Star Wars toy restorations, and I've been a fan since. Love the war movie reviews you do with analog toys as well. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you saying that about the War Stories series because that's something that Tony and Master Son and I do as a labor of love. And we know that that's for a certain pie slice of the community that does like classic movies and specifically likes classic war films because we like classic war movies. And so we know that that's not going to appeal to the broader majority, but we do that because we like doing it. And so I'm really glad that you're getting enjoyment out of that too, because that's one of the series that I'm most proud of. And I, you know, I'm just really glad that it's resonating with people. And there will be more restorations coming. They may not be Star Wars necessarily, because I've kind of gone through a lot of those major Star Wars ones that need repair. But there will be some other restorations coming, including a G.I. Joe Terrordrome. But Fudd, thank you so much for the very kind super chat. That's very humbling. Thank you. Yes. Don't hit yourself. Yeah, Kate Master, I don't know if maybe you sent this again without an answer, but I said email me at retroblasting@gmail.com and we can talk about that. Yeah, there you and Jeff McElwee both, Don. So the Batman animated video will come hell or high water. I'm going to get that thing done this year so that I don't have to ever I don't have to ever worry about people asking about it anymore. Not that it annoys me. It annoys me because it's taken so long for me to get it out, is what I'm saying. Okay. I think that's headcanon because if you actually know the production of the films and the order in which things were shot, all the stuff in Hawaii was shot last. So a lot of all those sequences, they were all shot last. That hat that he wears in those sequences it's actually different from the Cairo hat. They didn't even bash it on a turn. So in the real world, that's not actually the case. In the real world, the Cairo hat was made first. Let's see. Matt Movie 611. Thank you so much for the super chat. Good to see you, man. Is that your face on MacGyver? Because if so, that's awesome. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Just discovered 16 discs in the 39 disc MacGyver set I got for Christmas are scratched beyond watching. So fun evening. Do you need help with that? Because I've got the whole set. I can rip them for you or something. Hit me up on Twitter, man, in a private message. Let's fix that for you. Unless you can swap it. Maybe you can swap it out. Did you get a gift receipt? Please tell me you got a gift receipt. Oh, and I'm also assuming that those are DVDs. Is that a Blu-ray set? Let me know. Troy Pacelli. Good to see you, man. The man from Last Call. You want just a nice laid-back night, just listening to people talk about pop culture stuff on every Friday night? Last Call. Can't recommend it enough. Fun time. Great show. Always glad to see Troy in the chat. Yeah, and February pushed me to just sensory paralysis, which then led to boredom, which then led to stir craziness, which then led to this stream. Let's see. Dean Hepler, good to see you, man. Good to see you, man. Dean Hepler, longtime friend and supporter of the channel. Would you consider making a Danger Girl video where you talk about the McFarlane figures in the original comic book? Yeah, one day I'd love to. I'd love to do that. As a big fan of Tomb Raider, I would love to do that. Thank you for the super chat, Jeremy. This coming Toylanta will be the 1-year anniversary of our famous. That is true. That is true. That awesome selfie that we took together by accident on my part. Yes, that's the 1-year anniversary. Tenko, thank you for the super chat. 2011 Bondi Thundercats figures go for crazy cheap nowadays. Makes collecting them so much easier. I grew up with the reboot over the original show. And, you know, I remember when that reboot was out. It made waves. I remember that. I remember seeing those collectors, those figures on pegs at Target. Tez, good to see you, sir. Collection Connection, good to see you, man. No Marshmallow Group hate yet, but I'm waiting. It's only a matter of time. Let's see. Coming down here. Let's see. Logan, thank you for the kind super chat. Says, thanks for the heads up on your indie fedora. Just ordered one. Your attention to detail is always on point. Thank you. Indiana Jones is one area where I'm never going to call myself an expert, but I've devoted a very large chunk of my life to the Indiana Jones thing, in both semi-professional and extracurricular ways. So I feel like my knowledge and experience in that area holds up as well as most anybody else's. Let's see. Wotosh, thank you for the super chat. Which is worse, the prequels or the sequels? Well, that's like saying that for me, don't get offended, everybody. I'm about to say something sarcastic and snarky. Get ready for it. To me, answering that question personally is like saying, what tastes worse? A turd or a turd that has visible corn in it? Technically, they're different kinds of turds but they're both turds. I think there's different kinds of bad. And I think while the prequels have good ideas, here's the way I've always described it. Here's the shorthand. The original trilogy. Okay, I'm forgetting my own adage. Hold on. The original trilogy explained all the right things. The prequel trilogy explained all the wrong things. The sequel trilogy didn't explain anything. Write that on a public bathroom wall. Maki, you say this in every live chat, and there are going to be more cartoon retrospectives. I know you miss them. I'm well aware of it at this point. Articulated Chad, thank you for the super chat. Are we having a G.I. Joe uncensored watch party? Oh gosh, yeah, as in watching them from a deer stand. Daniel Dorian, thank you so much for the kind super chat. Still buzzing for the Thundercats and Robin Hood vid. Worth the wait, I'm sure. I promise you they will be worth the wait. I promise. In both of those cases, I am putting all of my attention into. I will not put out garbage. Collection Connection, thank you for the kind super chat. He says, I destroyed myself learning to use nunchucks as a Bruce Lee fan. Literally knocked myself out. See, that right there is proof positive. I have the courage to do a whip, which is a soft weapon, according to Michelle Yeoh. But hard weapons like a nunchuck that's moving that fast, I don't have that kind of courage. So hats off to you on that one, for real. Holy crap. Ice Mutt. Thank you. Wow. Seriously? Very, very, very kind, man. Very kind. Thanks for what you do. I lost all my toys and figures years ago. Your cleanup and repair videos remind me of all the fun. Well, you're very welcome. You are very, very welcome. And I'm humbled by the super chat. That's crazy. And I mean that in a good way. Like, it's crazy to see. I'm not saying you're crazy. I'm doing a repair video soon on Kotaku went. Sorry, my window over here went dead. I'm doing another restoration. I'm in the middle of it right now on the G.I. Joe Terrordrome. So anybody who likes restoration videos, hopefully that one will be out sooner rather than later. And, you'll get to see another toy come back to life. But thank you so much again for the massively kind super chat, Ice Mutt. Thank you so much. Favorite indie game? My favorite indie game is the arcade game for Temple of Doom. My second favorite indie game is the Williams Pinball Machine from 1994. 93 or 94. I think it's 94. But as far as 8-bit and 16-bit, I had and still do. I had my Temple of Doom and my Last Crusade cartridges for Nintendo, and I played the SNES version. I could beat Last Crusade on NES in like 5 minutes after I got really good at it. The Temple of Doom was just an absolute nightmare. The Tengen cartridge. So I guess overall, I would say the Last Crusade from Taito was my favorite, but that's thin praise. And then the Super Nintendo one was just a reskin of Super Star Wars. It didn't really capture the spirit of Indiana Jones. It was just another platformer. Thank you, Eric. Very kind. Thank you, Eric. Very kind. I like Man-Child News too. I like making those. Sugar Booger, thank you for the kind super chat. Thoughts on Logan's Run and Disney's Black Hole? Logan's Run is a brilliant movie. It really is a brilliant movie. Is it dated? Yes. But I look past that because I don't care about dated effects or dated production values. I care about the thing I love most about any movie or video game is the story. If the story is good, I can forgive a lot of other sins. And that one right there, Logan's Run, is really smart. Disney's Black Hole, it's the most daring movie Disney ever did, with Tron being a second place, like an admirable second place. Black Hole is extremely daring. Did they stick the landing? Not quite. But did they make something memorable? Yes, they did. And when you watch that movie, that was a totally different Disney than what we have now. Black Hole was something else. I'm not ever going to say it's like a film I just want to throw in and rewatch all the time, but I admire the hell out of it. Let's see. Which line of your vintage collection are you most proud of, and which do you enjoy the most? The line of my vintage collection I'm most proud of is probably my vintage Star Wars, because that's, but I'm also really proud of having an original Popey Beast King Go Lion with the box and all the missiles and weapons and everything. And which line do I enjoy the most? Well, that changes from time to time. I love my Indiana Jones Kenner line. I'm also really enjoying, even though it's not vintage yet, it's actually officially vintage as of last year. I'm enjoying some of the vintage Tomb Raider stuff from back in the day. They're not nostalgic like Star Wars is, but I'm enjoying the process of collecting them a lot. So there's that. Let's see. Oh, Not Top Goon. Thank you for the super chat. Yo, cool to see you live. Love your content. Thank you, Not Top Goon. I very much appreciate the super chat, and thanks for being here. If you get one of those toy whips, I want you to do the most scathing YouTube review of it possible. Let's see. Now, when I say Bespin Luke is commonplace, I mean on the secondhand market. Bespin Luke was very difficult for me to find as a child in 1984. I did finally find him. But on the secondhand market, what I'm saying is Bespin Luke is not the hardest figure to find, unless something has changed and I don't know about it, and somebody bought, 450,000 Bespin Lukes and is hoarding them. Thank you very much for the very kind words about the Lego videos. Yes, the Lion's Castle is on the docket for sooner rather than later. Like, I'm getting done with the Beast Wars video, and then I'm working on another video here real quick, and then that castle has got to get in front of the camera, I'm hoping this month, because I want that done, because the sooner I get it done, the sooner I can clear up a major amount of space in my studio. So I need it done. It's an absolute necessity. So it will happen, and you will see it. I have heard of the new RoboForce line from Nacelle Toys. I think they look really cool. They're not on my budget, though. I'm focused on other priorities right now, but they look pretty neat, and some people are really happy with them, for sure. Oh, thank you, Ikem. Very, very kind. Thank you very much. Is it Ikem? Not Ikem. Ikem? Okay. I don't want to ever mispronounce somebody's name. But yes, I really greatly appreciate that. Yeah, I really put a lot into my retrospectives. And that's kind of what I want to get back to, what Maki was saying. I missed your cartoon retrospectives. These take a lot of time to do, and I have to go through every episode and all that kind of stuff. So I never want to just put out a video like that takes me that much time and have it be garbage. So I apologize that sometimes there's a wait, but I want to be, when those retrospectives land, I want to know that I want to go back and rewatch them. I want them to be that fun to watch. So that's why it takes me a little while. Jeff Barker is here. Always good to see Jeff Barker. Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate that. Yeah, those are fun on replay as well. Oh, wow. Thank you for the kind super chat, Crux. The first ever video I saw of yours was the Perfect Raiders Indie tutorial. Thanks for inspiring me to make my own customs. Plus, your other videos are awesome. Way better than those Hasbro dingleberries. Well, you and me both on the whole Hasbro thing. I'm just like, God, where do they find these people to do they either needs to get totally different people to handle their PR and their forward-facing video social media stuff, or they need to just throw in the towel and just quietly make figures and just announce them in ads or something. What iconic vehicle would you like to see in 3 3/4 inch next? The Raiders flying wing. That's what I would like to see. The flying wing from Raiders. Let's see. I'm still trying to find someone who can make a toy car based on the Viper Defender from Viper. Oh yeah, that would be something else to see for sure. Yes, this is true, Christopher, is that it's very hard to approach that show from a new point of view. And on top of that, spoiler alert, I hate that word. I think we all collectively know that Batman the Animated Series is about as close to perfect as any television series can get, animated or not. And while that might sound like, oh, well, that should make it really easy to write, it's actually not. Because while I don't believe that being critical is negative or hating, I do believe that when you are able to, as I say far too often, twist the Rubik's Cube and look under the themes and look under the logic and everything like that, like with the one-shot RoboForce thing, where it was like, I was finding stuff in that show where I'm like, what were the writers doing here? Like, what was going on? It's much easier to then get your typing teeth in there and kind of go, okay, this is what's going on here. Or like with Bionic 6, where it's like, Professor Sharp is Professor Sharp is literally using his position and abusing his power to cover for his brother in like toxic nepotism, who's a villain. That kind of stuff, you can hang your hat on that, and you can say, okay, I have something to say. Whereas with Batman the Animated Series, all of its well-deserved praise has already been heaped on it thousands of times by various content creators. And it deserves every bit of that praise. So what can you do to make a video about it where you're not just saying it's perfect for 20 minutes? I don't know. And that's maybe that's the twist, is that this television series, one flaw is that it's so good, it's really hard to make a compelling YouTube video about. I will crack the code. I've already got some of it written, but I will crack the code and find my path on that, and then it will go more smoothly. But yeah, it's such a good series that it's very difficult to find your way in when you're trying to say something compelling. Kaiju Kid Comics, thank you so much for the kind super chat. He says, fans do the best work is a rally cry I take to heart and appreciate. Has inspired me to work harder at upping my own skills and customs, hoping to make a Tatsu from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990 soon. Cheers, good sir. Cheers to you as well. And keep us posted on your custom, for sure. Yes, it will explode, because more than likely, if they were to actually do that, they've never been, the closest they've come to doing a retro HasLab is the Sky Striker for G.I. Joe O-Ring figures, right? That's turned out to be kind of a boondoggle. Lots of broken Sky Strikers, lots of janky stuff. I can't imagine they would do a 3 3/4 inch flying wing just for like their retro collection of Indiana Jones figures. They would have to pull that bait and switch like they do on the box art for all of their little mini play sets, where like that half a Bespin freeze chamber bridge to nowhere, where they're like, all these figures are on the platform, and then there's this little bitty message on the box that says, you know, these figures shown may not actually be available at this time, because all of them are like 5 years old. And compared to the bridge to nowhere. So like, I can see them pulling that stunt with the flying wing, where they show the flying wing surrounded by all of these 2008 Indiana Jones figures, many of which that are applicable to that scene are from the San Diego Comic-Con Lost Wave, which means that those would have to be figure unlocks for the HasLab to remake those again, because not enough people would be able to get the mechanic to have that combo. Otherwise, that thing would be that would be the only thing that would even make me pause to possibly cross the picket line. And even then, I probably wouldn't. But it's nice to think about. Thank you, Troy. Here's your tip for saying, well, you know what? You're a great customer at the bar. You know how to be a good customer at the bar. That's for sure. What is Nick Cage? Thank you for the super chat. What is your least favorite classic 80s movie? Okay, well, there's a few ways to interpret that. Least favorite that a lot of other people like, or least favorite just in general? Let me think for a minute. A lot of people, I'm drawing a blank now because I've been put on the spot. Oh, okay. I hate E.T. I love the music. Don't like the movie. There's a kid in it. Like I like kids in movies, but I don't like it when it's a kid on Earth who suddenly has all these fantastical adventures. Because I was a kid on Earth at that time in the 80s, and I knew that crap like that didn't happen. If you're going to be a kid in a fictional story for me, it's got to be something like, you grow up at Hogwarts and more of a fantastical environment where there are rules and it's all fiction, but they're growing up within this fantastical world. E.T. did nothing for me. I own the soundtrack. The score is beautiful. I can listen to it on its own, but I don't like the E.T. movie. It does nothing for me. It's you take the music out of that movie and you won't shed a tear. That right there is a masterwork. A masterwork of John Williams. So I ain't gonna go there. I like them. I not just like, I love them both. I will say that you can wear Indiana Jones shoes on a day-to-day basis. You can't wear Han Solo's boots everywhere. That's not a dig on Han Solo. I'm just saying that Indiana Jones as a character is easier to live with daily. When I was out driving around today, waiting to pick up Melinda from the airport, I had to stop and run a few errands. And then I decided there was still a lot of time, but I was closer to the airport than I was to the house. So I decided to stop at Marlowe's Tavern to get some lunch. And, I was wearing this and my jacket and this, and I was wearing jeans. I wasn't wearing like an Indiana Jones costume, but I just kind of had this stuff on, and I had my leather jacket, my Raiders jacket on. And I went into the restaurant and I sat down at the bar and got a menu and just started ordering. But that's how I was dressed today. You can't dress, with Han Solo stuff and just walk into a place. Like it doesn't work. So I guess what I'm saying is you can carry more of Indy with you on a day-to-day basis than you can Han Solo. Taller, I think what you're asking is a wonderful question. The only reason I'm hesitant to answer it is because I don't want this entire audience to turn on me. Because I have a lot of mixed feelings about Spielberg doing that film, mainly because Spielberg, when he optioned the book for Ready Player One, he said that he was going to, even though Ready Player One was filled with Spielberg movie references, like they practically hung on it, he was like, I want to do this movie, but I'm taking all of my own movie references out of it because it'd be like too self-serving. It'd be like this conflict of interest would be too self-serving. And I was like, okay, that sucks, because maybe that means you're not the right person to make this movie then. Maybe you should have not, maybe you should have checked your ego at the door and not directed that so that the adaptation could have been as faithful as possible to the book, right? So then he goes off and he does this movie which is literally about himself as a child. And he tries to make this movie about how magical and awesome his whole upbringing was, and like what a visionary he was, and all this stuff. And I'm going, isn't that self-serving? Like that's kind of self-serving. Like that's almost, I would say, more self-serving than putting references to your own movies in a movie based on a book that's filled with references to your own films. At least in that respect, you're being authentic to the book as it was presented. Whereas here, it's just like, look how awesome I am. It's like, I just, it doesn't sit well with me. Oh, thank you, John. I'm glad you got value out of that video for sure. My favorite, if we're pretending that the Star Wars prequels aren't Star Wars films, then Phantom Menace is the one I respect the most. I actually thought they got worse as they went along. And that was my reactions to them in the theater. I know. Ride me out on a rail. It's happened before. Really? Like what? Do tell. And you better make sure that the issues that you bring up aren't issues that arose from future writings that inadvertently retconned stuff. Whatever criticisms you've got, you better make sure they're watertight. They're not. Empire Strikes Back is a perfect film. And Star Wars comes really, really close. Jedi got some problems. And I've talked about those. But all this stuff about like trashing the classics to bolster up the later stuff, I've done a whole video about that. If you can't argue the point, the position of the film you're trying to defend without going to the classic and trashing it to make yours look better, like by dragging this one down to that level, then your argument is lost. So be very careful and clear with what your arguments are before you present them to me. All right, let's see. Master Son 42, thank you so much for the kind super chat. Please don't do any more repair videos because you caused the Night Raven to be destroyed. You know what? I watched the video and I love the shout out and everything like that. And I actually know the guy, Nathan. He's a great guy. So yeah, that was funny. But yeah, Night Ravens are a real pain to work on. Demo video. Just a demo video, not anything where you're telling other people claiming that you're teaching other people how to do it. I'm not saying that. Just a demo video. Oh, good. I'm glad. I hope that went well, Deborah. I'm glad. I hope that went well. Jeremy Kerr, thank you so much for the kind super chat. Out of curiosity, do you own any Indiana Jones memorabilia? When you say memorabilia, do you mean like actual things from the movie, like that were used in the movie? Or do you just mean merchandise? Because yeah, of course, I've got a whole bin, under bed bin that's just filled with magazines and you know, cards and trading cards and video games and all kinds of stuff is yeah, I've got a ton of stuff. So define what you mean by memorabilia, because it sounds to me like what you're saying is you're talking about non-merchandise stuff. Like the way you phrase it is, it sounds to me like you're talking about screen use stuff. And no, I don't have anything like that. Sam Newsman, thank you for the super chat. He says the Atari Temple of Doom arcade cabinet is my favorite. Yeah, me too. I wish Arcade 1-Up would do a version of it, but they probably won't, because they won't be able to get their money out of it because they can only put one game in it. Let's see. Wholeheartedly agree, Michael. The Black Hole is a flawed film, but the more soulless, disposable garbage Disney turns out, the more I appreciate it. Yeah, it's flawed, but it's brave. Well, there was one Toy Biz Tomb Raider toy, and it is horrendous, but totally worth hanging a video over. Hanging a video on, over, on, over. You know what I mean. Let's see here. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Darth Goldust. He says, thanks for your warning about the Star Wars 4K box set. Save me some money, you rule. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I have the Star Wars 4K movies for the original trilogy so that I could get the deleted scenes again in the bonus features. Although, oddly enough, they're still incomplete because the Empire of Dreams documentary on the DVD set from 2004 had other Empire Strikes Back deleted scenes that didn't make it, I don't think, into the 4K set, which is like, whatever. But I don't watch those 4K discs for the films. I watch the 4K 77 project for those because I don't want to watch those special edition tinkered with things. Do we really want to sit down and watch Greedo say McClunky every time we watch Star Wars now? Do we really want that? Do we really want Jabba's tail stepped on? I can't stand it. I'm not going to watch that ever again. So yeah. If they had offered really nice 4K remastered scans of the original cuts in those disc sets, then I'd have been all over it and I'd have recommended it. But, you know, it's good to see you too, Jose. Good to see you too. Jedi Fife is here. Just bought the first red carded 95 to 96 Star Wars line loose. Have a weird nostalgia for these first 26 figures. Wow, loose. That's awesome because I would almost expect they'd be easier to find carded than loose complete, but I'm sure they're actually just as common that way and probably a lot cheaper. I collected those a ton in the 90s, the mid to late 90s. I totally get where you're coming from. And there is a weird nostalgia around them. But yeah, will I be going back around and getting them again? I don't know. I really haven't gone back in that direction. Maybe one day. Never say never, but I hope your collection goes well and you won't break the bank, which is nice. Always really good to see you, Jeff. Oh, yeah, I can't wait to see you, Joe Fest, man. Maximilian Tucker, thanks so much for the kind super chat. The guilt it too much? Tell us of your NECA woes. Are you referring to the War Duke? My post about your War Duke. It's I know that NECA has been improving its game. I've heard from a lot of friends of mine that NECA is trying to make amends and they're trying to do better with their products. So that's a great thing to hear. Ryan has told me that. Bobby has told me that. So people that I know aren't going to get, gaga over bad products. They've told me that NECA has really improved its game. I do find it really interesting that NECA was still having these problems, and people were posting their photographs online and trying to get NECA to do something for like years, and NECA wasn't doing anything about it. And then suddenly, I go at them really hard with this video, and I get the blowback from people who are like, NECA's a great company, I don't know why you're dunking on them and all this kind of stuff. And now it's almost 3 years later or something like that, and suddenly NECA's doing a lot better. And I'm not saying that I single-handedly had anything to do with that, but what I'm saying is people say that you should never complain and that you should always just be grateful. And one guy I heard on a stream recently, he's actually he works for toy companies and stuff as well on the side. He was like, you don't really need to complain because it is what it is. That was his phrase. It is what it is. So there's no reason to complain. It's like, but if NECA had been getting all those complaints for years and years and all the photos and all the people complaining on the message boards, and then suddenly a high profile video comes out that gets over 100,000 views that encapsulates all that's been going on with those customers and their products, you don't think that there's the distinct possibility that somebody could say, okay, this has reached a crescendo, we can't ignore this anymore? Like, what I'm saying is cumulative critical dissatisfaction amongst a consumer base that is broadcast and vocal, not just me, everybody collectively can actually move the needle, even if they quietly never admit it. They are listening. I don't mean they're going to act on it. I mean, they know what we're saying. They're not turning us off. They might turn a deaf ear for a while, but they know what we're saying. And eventually that dam will crack, one way or the other. Either it cracks the way Funko Pops have cracked, where we've said, these be stupid, and this is a Beanie Baby situation all over again. And they go, boom, don't say that. And then suddenly it's like, nope, here we go. Or it goes the other way, like with NECA, and it's like, okay, we're gonna try and do better. Have they totally fixed all their problems? I don't know, but I know that Hasbro is now on par with the problems NECA used to have. So it can, NECA might be doing this while Hasbro's doing this, Jeremy Jernigan, thank you so much for the kind super chat. Dragonheart would be a fun 2-part retrospective. Oh, don't think I'm not already prepared for it. I have the entire Dragonheart collection, all the essential stuff anyway. It's just going to be a while before I get to it. So, Simon, thank you so much for the kind super chat. He says, thanks for your videos. Can't fit my question in here. Well, if I see your question down below, okay, here it is. He says, any thoughts on the Masterverse Motu figures based on the live action movie? Not really. I haven't really given a lot of attention to the Masterverse stuff. I'm just more interested in Origins. And even with that, I'm kind of winding down. Let's see. Unmade vehicles from Stan Solo. I mean, I'd love to see that really cool land speeder that drives by in Mos Eisley. It's got like 3 big engine vents on the back, and it's kind of got like a yellow stripe pattern on it with a covered canopy. I'd love to see that. Rarest toy that is not one of the main lines. Oh, that would be the humanoid from Black Hole. Yeah. No. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. The humanoid from Black Hole. That would be the one. That is the rarest figure that I know of. You're coming to get me, or you're having a private moment? I'm not really sure from the phrasing, but but no, seriously, no, I'm not. Look, I'd said the toys were beautiful. You know that. I just think that some of the stuff in that show is nonsensical. So, like, for example, if you got yourself a pair of yellow tinted like shop glasses and you put them on, right? And you said, "Hi, my name's Master Son." And I'm like, "Cool." And then you went like this, but your face didn't change or get covered up, and you're still wearing the same yellow things, and do you really expect me to go, "Oh my gosh, it's Captain 42"? And I wouldn't do that. And like, why, if you're the most famous superhero in the world and you're already got your face uncovered, you're already why would I not already know that Master Son is also Captain 42? Like the whole thing just, it's like they didn't even try. Like it, but again, I'm very proud of the videos I made, and I think they're funny. Maybe. No, I didn't buy those, Christopher, because have you looked at Khan's camel toe? Like the legs on those figures with the waist piece, it's just unsettling. Like, and it's even worse on Spock and Kirk because they've got that little tunic part that kind of covers up and then it pokes out at the bottom. It looks like it looks like Spock and Kirk have a really bad case of hemorrhoids, like really gargantuan hemorrhoids. I just think the tooling on those figures, and also they don't scale or even look proper sitting next to the original Playmates line. So it's really too bad. It's like, if you're gonna do retro like that, you really should have just brought them out retro. I would have bought that Kirk and Spock if they'd done that. Because I think the other Khan from way back in the day actually looks better. I know the face prints are supposed to be a little better, but the figure construction is just gormless. Like it's Sugar Booger, thank you for the kind super chat, sir. Very kind. Agreed, Toon Logic. Agreed. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you. Very kind. Yes, Maki, the Gadget Mobile is rare. It is. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I do remember that time people thought I made up an Australian person. And he's still real. And he's still in Melbourne, Australia. And he's still a great guy. You know who isn't a great guy? The guy who falsely accused me of making him up and then revealed he was making all of it up just to try and get clicks. Class. Daniel Geister, thank you so much for the kind super chat. Have you read all 300 issues of G.I. Joe Real American Hero now that it's complete? No, I haven't read the IDW stuff. How far away is the GoBots retrospective? Hopefully closer than farther away. Arthur, I did a whole video about Pro Customs doing those. Pro Customs did all the droids figures. They're very nice. Go look up my video on the Pro Customs droids Lost Wave. Pro Customs figures are almost as good as Stan Solo. Well, Tim, I just explained it. I don't like seeing kids in fantastical, magical situations while living in the suburbs on Earth. I can't relate to it. I was a kid in the suburbs on Earth. Amazing things didn't happen to me. So amazing things on Earth happen to adults. They don't happen to kids. That's why. I don't like E.T. I don't really like the movie Explorers either, for that matter. Not a massive fan of the bookend parts of Neverending Story. I like all the parts with Atreyu in the fantasy world in the middle, but that whole thing with Bastion and stuff, I could care less. Let's see. Sugar Booger, thank you for the kind super chat. He said, have you seen OG Gundam or Evangelion? Godspeed, bro. I keep meaning to. Lio wants me to watch Gundam. I'm willing to. I've just got to find the time. And Evangelion, I've always wanted to watch, but again, I got to find the time. Shazilla, thank you for the kind super chat. I was never really into ET either. Missed most of the live stream. We'll watch replay. Think Joe will make a flying wing if we ask nicely. I mean, possibly. The thing about Joe is that Joe will end up making it like to scale, which means it'll take up like half my studio. And I say that with all the love in my heart because Joe is like a mad scientist. I love the man. Whoa, Raymond, thank you so much for the kind super chat. Hi, Michael. Just to show my continued appreciation for RetroBlasting, I had an idea for the carbon freeze chamber as far as how many vintage Bespin guards to get. What if you only got the same number of guards as appeared in the film? Again, that would probably be my goal. Like kind of like how I did with the Thuggy guards, where I got just enough of them to fill the bridge on both sides, like they were in the movie. Yeah, that's a good place to market for sure. Sometimes, James. Sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. A lot of time I find myself being characteristically brutally objective. There are times though where like I can be brutally objective but also still enjoy the thing. So like for example, Ninja 3 The Domination. It's one of my favorite 80s movies. Is it a great film? No. Is it a fun film? Yes. Does it have chintzy effects? Yes. Do I care? No. It's just, so I'm both I'd like to think I don't wear rose-colored glasses while still being able to appreciate things. Raymond, yeah, I'm still mulling this, but that is a really great idea. That is a really great idea. I'll count the number I have and then count the ones in the film and see how many there actually are, because I've got a good number of them by now. I'll check. I'll audit that for sure. Tenko, thank you for the super chat. Do you think Action Force would sell 3 3/4-inch scale? I personally would buy a Swarm Army at that scale to display alongside Cobra. Action Force probably would. There, Marauder's Task Force has really filled that gap. Marauder's Task Force does. I think they're technically like right at 4 inches, but they do really great super articulated 3 3/4-inch scale military figures, Joe style, and all that kind of stuff. They've really dominated that section of the market. But yeah, I would love to see 3 3/4-inch scale Action Force. That'd be fun. Yeah, it's as I said earlier in the stream, Gian, it's from Advintage. It's an Advintage Streets of Cairo recreation. It's Advintage is a company out of Germany, a hatter out of Germany. He's brilliant, and yeah, so this is his Streets of Cairo, Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark hat. I've never seen anybody do it better. Michael and I agree on the prequels for sure. The amazing bro comments. Oh yeah. Yeah, it was probably definitely contrarian. Probably definitely. I just contradicted myself. Yeah, like I said, I like Return of the Jedi. I'm not trying to throw it. I'm just objectively saying, like I always do, I like Return of the Jedi a lot. Does it have problems? Yes. Is it as good as the first 2 films in the trilogy? No, but it's not a bad movie. It just, they made a few missteps. Yes, I have. I answered that earlier. Yes, I've seen them. Let's see. Well, one day I might finally watch that. Everybody says I should watch Andor. I just haven't yet. Whoa, Ice Mutt, man, thank you so much. I saw it the day it came out. I can't really say it made me happy, just made me sad. Would have loved to smile at the end. But the end is, by the end, it's closer to dealing with loss. You're talking about E.T., I assume? Yeah, I think you're referring to E.T., and if that's the case, yeah, see, that's the other thing about it. It's like I'm not having fun with the movie. I'm not believing in the verisimilitude of it. It's not, to me, it's not that compelling a story. I'm not as interested in fantasy suburbia. It's just not my thing. Whereas Spielberg romanticizes a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I agree, Ice Mutt. And thank you again for the very, very generous super chat. Very kind. Yes, I will do GoBots and Bucky O'Hare. I have the entire Bucky O'Hare line, vehicles and all. I plan to do it at some point. GoBots I will do as well. Yeah, I've got a good number of them, enough to do a video. Let's see. So you're referring to screen use stuff. Yeah, I don't collect screen use stuff. First of all, I don't have that kind of money. Second of all, screen use stuff is like, you know, it's got to be behind glass and it's got to be carefully insured and protected and all that kind of stuff. And as nice as that would be to have, like, the only piece from Indiana Jones that I would want that was screen used would be the original Raiders of the Lost Ark Cairo hat that was found in 2008 and was verified in its provenance from a private estate. It had been given to a stuntman at the end of Raiders, and it was sold for God knows how many hundreds of thousands of dollars. That would be the only piece of Indiana Jones screen used memorabilia I would want. And that's never going to happen. It'll forever be out of my price range. And if I had that kind of money laying around, I could think of 50 better things to do with it, like buy hats that I can wear and stuff like that. For me, Indiana Jones isn't so much about the stuff. It's about being inspired to learn new skills and read history and be more confident in the day-to-day world and that kind of thing. And also know and be comfortable in the knowledge that you don't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger to be determined and succeed. You can be an average guy and do amazing things in the real world. And that's what I like the most about Indiana Jones. It's less about, as much as I'm fascinated by the Ark of the Covenant and stuff like that, it's more about his determination and his strength of character than it is about idols and grails and stuff like that for me. GamerX, thank you for the kind super chat. He says, I may have missed this long ago, but what became of the Street Fighter documentary? Well, Oliver Harper told me that it was coming out, that it was still in post-production. I'm not sure what the update is because I haven't heard anything lately, but I haven't heard that it's been canceled. And I filmed my segment for it. So I'm hoping it comes out. I would love to finally see it. That would be great. See, thoughts on Demolition Man? Fun movie, very prophetic, great film. I am trying to read as much as I can grab, man. So I appreciate the understanding. Yeah, there are actually there are two Indiana Jones pinball machines. If it's one that has Crystal Skull stuff in it, that is a not Williams. It's the other major company that does is it Bally? That doesn't sound right. But that's a later one, 2008-9, something like that. I like the 1994 one from back in the day because it actually had like a gun pistol grip to launch the ball and stuff. And you can actually get the virtual version of that pinball machine now on Pinball EX. What's it called? Virtual Pinball for Nintendo Switch. So I have that for Nintendo Switch. It's fun to play. Thank you, Sugar. Thank you. Yeah, it's a terrible tactic. Terrible tactic to do that. Mr. Kirk, thank you for the kind super chat. You're speaking facts about the prequels, Spielberg and E.T. That's why I'm a subscriber. Also, another film where the soundtrack is better than the film is Star Trek. Oh, I know Melinda and Conrad will disagree with me and Mike Alonzo, but I agree with you. I respect Star Trek the Motion Picture, but like, it's never going to be Wrath of Khan for me. Wrath of Khan was the perfect way to bring Star Trek. I love the ideas the motion picture explores, and I don't think the motion picture is the worst Star Trek film by any stretch of the imagination. But if I'm going to throw in a Star Trek movie, I'm throwing in Wrath of Khan. Like, motion picture is like an event film, like watching Blade Runner. It's very smart and it's very well made, but it's also very dry, which the original series was not. Although some original series aficionados claim Star Trek the Motion Picture is the most like the original series, which I don't really know if that's true. That's a very subjective thing. So let's see what we got here. Do you have a favorite Raiders of the Lost Ark original music score moment by John Williams? Mine is the map room scene. That's a really good question. I've always liked the crescendo when they spot him climbing up onto the submarine with that theme. I've always loved that bit. And of course, I love what you just talked about, the map room scene. I also really love the coordination of John Williams' score to the beginning of the airplane fight. So when he's climbing up onto the airplane after beating up the first guy, or no, I'm sorry, it's when he's fighting the first guy with the wrench. John Williams times that music to the first punch, and then the dodge, and then the wrench swing, and then the hit, and it's so good. It's so good. I love that little cue as well. Okay. For the record, I requested RB to make the NECA video. Is that true? I'm trying to remember. I mean, I don't doubt you, but I'm trying to remember. Is that really how it happened? Okay, that's amazing. Okay, that's so cool. I didn't remember that. You finally found your 1985 A-Wing. Nice. Congratulations. Yeah, Motu Origins is really starting to grind my gears. Maximilian says, I'm saying you had everything to do with NECA improving. That's very kind, but I think if there was any credit to be levied on that video I made, it was that final deluge of water that slammed up behind the rest of the people who had complained and finally cracked that dam. I think there was a lot of pressure that had already built on that dam that is NECA's quality control, and I think that video just kind of, if I was to gauge it. All right, let's see here. We have I think the Migo company's doing great stuff. I haven't collected it because my budget's been spread into other areas, like hats. But I think they're great. They're some of the better retro toys that are coming out right now for sure. Smokey, thank you for the kind super chat. It says Quan should be a new indie. Seen his movie yet? Yeah, I own it on 4K. I watched it a few weeks ago. And yeah, I agree he should be in the new indie. He should have been in the new indie before. He should have been in Indie 4, but they definitely should have put him in Indie 5, but they're not that bright. They're not that bright. Hollywood is a hypocritical and short-sighted industry. They always have been. And they have egg on their face now about that. So it's not verboten. You can discuss it here. Here's the thing, guys. You can discuss anything you want on my channel, provided you're ready for my answer. In other words, if you're going to try and throw something out there, hoping that I will guaranteed reinforce your bias, and if that doesn't happen, you're going to be really upset, then you better not ask the question or field the topic, whatever you want to call it. But if you're okay with whatever take comes out of this adult's mouth and you can handle it like an adult, then fire away, go for it. But just know that, like, I'm going to have an adult conversation with you. I'm not going to stand up here like some Chuck E. Cheese character and try and give you the feels. We as a generation have got to get past that. It amazes me how many people in our generation in their early 40s to early 50s still expect every single person they encounter on a YouTube channel to act like Ronald effing McDonald at them. It's like, I want to look at them and be like, does somebody still cut the crusts off the bread for you for your peanut butter sandwich? Really? Like you're that fragile that you've got to have everybody do this song and dance? every time they say something about a thing. Unreal. Master Son, thank you for the super chat. I hate it when Michael does a video trashing something I like because they are well thought out, factual, and made from a point of neutrality. You want to get mad, but you can't. It's very kind, sir. It's very kind. And in many ways, truthfully, I'm not even about to take the piss. My relationship with you is a lot like that in reverse. Like, Master Son loves to josh me, right? And in his joshing, he's always got this kind of like cutting to the heart of the matter at the same time. And it's hilarious, but it's also poignant. And so even when he's being pretty like brutal, and not brutal in like a mean way, but brutal in like that cutting to the chase kind of way, you want to be mad, but you can't because it's pointed out from a factual and made from a point of hilarity. So I think there's a really great symbiotic relationship we've got, Master Son, and I hope it continues even past this mortal coil. All right, let's see here. Oh yeah, you got to try again, man. You got to get that Night Raven back in the air. Yes, I am aware of him because I watched the 3 POA with him. That's when I was aware of him. Why? Is there something I need to know? Seriously, that's a serious question. Beast of the Mesozoic line. Ethan, I don't really know much about it. Is that a vintage line? Is that a modern line? Not really sure. Let me know. Yes, Cornholio, they're actually in that room back there. So if I was to open that door, I could bring them all out. I have plans for them for a video retrospective that I'm going to do. But yes, I have them all. Yep. Oh, that's the best part of the Star Wars prequels, Chris. The best part of the Star Wars prequels are the memes they generated. They're worth their weight in gold. Have you noticed how the sequel trilogy doesn't even have the material to create great memes? There aren't that many sequel trilogy memes because those films are so poor. The prequel trilogy is a gold mine for memes. Like I said, the prequel trilogy had great ideas. Its failing was that it explained all the wrong things. Original trilogy explained all the right things. Prequel trilogy explained all the wrong things. Sequel trilogy didn't explain anything. Yeah, exactly, Heath. Like, the scaling was off for no good reason. Oh, it's almost finished, Moon Knight. It's almost finished. I just have a few more hours to put into it and it'll be done. And then I'll be doing a video about it called My First Gundam. And thank you again to Lio Convoy for sending that to me as a surprise. Santara, good to see you. Jeepers, I went out for some late night grocery shopping and I missed a live stream. Hey, there's nothing wrong with late night grocery shopping because nobody else is there to bother you. Michael Hinkson, thank you for the super chat. Have you ever seen any of the Battlestar Galactica OG toy line from Joyride Studios? Are those the Mego style? I think I might have seen some of the Mego style ones like that, if that's what you're talking about. But I might be wrong. Maybe I've got the wrong toy company. I also know there were those figures in the 90s. Is that what you're talking about? That's right. Thank you for saying that, John. I've never said anybody's dumb for liking them. You can like the prequels all you want, but don't expect me to reinforce your bias. If you ask me my opinion, be ready to receive my opinion. That's all. Just because I say I don't like it, don't let your brain filter get all insecure. And if I say I don't think the prequels are very good, most of these fanboys out there, they hear those words, but their brain interprets it as Michael just said I was stupid. I literally didn't say that. Can the court scribe read that back? The court reporter, can you read that back to us? Sam Newsman, thank you for the super chat. He says the Doctor Who cast is coming to GalaxyCon in Richmond, Virginia, March 24th through 26th. Will you come to see them? Have you met them and have stories already? Do share. I've met and interviewed Janet Fielding. Did a whole video interview about that. You can see it on the channel. So if you type in RetroBlasting Janet Fielding, you will see my interview on camera in real time, sitting next to her in 2 chairs with Janet Fielding. Now, when you say the Doctor Who cast, which cast? Are you referring to the 5th Doctor, the 6th Doctor, the 7th Doctor, the 8th Doctor? Which cast is coming to GalaxyCon? Or is it just everybody from every era? Because I've met Karen Gillan and got her autograph. I've met David Tennant. I've met Freema Agyeman, who played Martha. I've met Catherine Tate. I've met John Barrowman. Hadn't had any bad experiences with any of them. I've been standing there when both Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi, separate occasions, have walked by, just a few feet from me. And I was not a Doctor Who viewer at the time. So even though I knew who they were and I knew what show they were in, I wasn't like, jumping up to get an autograph from them or anything. But I have been in their presence. Yeah. I haven't met in person any of the others, but I have autographs from a lot of the others. I even have an autograph from Anjali from Sarah Jane Adventures. So, which I love that show. So, yeah, I love Doctor Who. Love Doctor Who. D's Nuts, thank you for the super chat. He says, love this channel. Thanks for the recommendation of the Goody Emporium. Found some films I've been looking for in good quality from a trusted source. Yeah, Goody Emporium doesn't sell bootlegs. I don't know why people thought immediately that I was talking about some bootleg company. These guys sell legitimate discs, like actual discs. The difference is that they make sure that they acquire discs. Like if the title is only sold in the UK and Europe, they'll make sure to get a selection of those discs for people that have region-free players. And then they also sell the American discs of titles that are brought out here, like Magnificent Warriors on 88 Films, stuff like that. They're not a bootleg or knockoff company. So I don't know why people thought that when I made that video that I had people being like, can't wait for the cease and desist letter from the lawyers after you've talked about this company. And I'm like, are you stupid? Like, and then I told myself, yes, they are stupid. Tony Robles, thank you for the super chat. He says, always good to see a RetroBlasting live stream. Hope to meet you at Joe Fest. Cheers. I hope to meet you at Joe Fest. Be great to meet you. Sugar Booger says, I quote this from the Bionic 6 review when arguing how art can be objectively good or bad. Liking stupid things doesn't make you stupid. What makes someone stupid is denying the stupid things they like. Yeah, like I said, Ninja 3, gloriously stupid. And I love it. And I'm okay with saying it's stupid. It's weird to me. It's weird to me when someone thinks that because they like something, it can't possibly be stupid. Jerry Lewis made an entire career out of being stupid to entertain everybody else. And the French ate it up. So you can be stupid and be entertaining. Dumb and Dumber, that's literally in the title. Like, I don't understand people. They would probably say, don't call Dumb and Dumber stupid. I like it. That movie isn't stupid. It's in the title. It literally is stupid, and that's okay. You know? Yeah, I already answered this question. Why are the same questions coming up over and over again? Yes, and yes. Scott Hughes, thank you for the super chat. Very, very kind. Because Michael doesn't like shameless self-promotion. If anyone isn't a RetroBlasting Patreon member, you need to correct that immediately, if not sooner. No one gives more for your money. Yeah, that's very kind, Scott. That's very kind. You didn't have to do that, but that's very kind. Thank you. Have you ever watched Miller's Crossing? Yes, great movie, Miami, great movie. And I love film noir. I just got the 4K of Double Indemnity. And one of my favorite film noirs of all time is I'm losing it right now. It's come on, the director of Spiral Staircase, Phantom Lady. That, not based on the comic book character. It's a film with Ella Raines. Phantom Lady is one of my favorite film noirs of all time. But yes, very much like the film noir genre for sure. Also really like The Big Sleep with Humphrey Bogart, though I'm still not sure if I quite understand the plot, and I've watched it like 10 times. Very entertaining movie, can't quite follow the ins and outs of the plot. I don't think I'm stupid. I think that movie's just really convoluted. Let's see. Verisimilitude, Tim, is a word that is used to describe perceived reality. So when you're making a film, even if that film is fantastical, right? You have to establish rules so that the audience knows what the rules are, and then you then establish credibility of believability, which is verisimilitude. In other words, we are going to create an experience for the audience where they can believe in this, and we are not going to break that believability or that screen, that metaphorical screen for the audience for anything, so that from beginning to end, the audience will feel like they have watched something that they can really buy into and suspend their disbelief. That's verisimilitude. Robo P, thank you so much for the kind super chat. Wanted to tell a quick story. Reissue Pterosaur, Beast Wars reissue Pterosaur used to be $45 Australian. I held out eventually. It got a price cut to $30. It pays to be patient, especially with Hasbro. I enjoy man-child news shorts. Excuse me. Keep it up, sir. Thank you, Robo. And you keep it up. And yeah, I try and get deals whenever I can. Scott Hughes found me a great 1990s Marvel Legends Black Widow at deep discount at a store about a month ago, which I thought I'd missed the boat on that one. I never saw it in stores, and he ran across a ton of them at a discount store. So yeah, it pays to be patient. I agree, Carl. I agree. It should have been. That was the plan from the beginning, and then they changed the plan, which is what George Lucas always does. I don't know what's going to happen to Indiana Jones. This may very well be it. I don't know. Let's see. Somebody's talking about 4K, so now I'm trying to figure out which 4Ks they're talking about. Let's see. Okay, what's everyone's thoughts on the Young Indiana Jones series? Admirable. Great production value, really, really daring content. They kind of tried to do this whole Forrest Gump thing before Forrest Gump was a thing, where they put Indiana Jones in every major event in the early 20th century, which I have my misgivings about. But yeah. What was the hardest item in your collection to get a hold of? If you're talking my toy collection, hardest item in my toy collection to get a hold of would be the Robotech SDF-1 playset from Matchbox. That one was really tough. It was also nail biting to get an original boxed Popey Go Lion in good condition, because back then I couldn't necessarily get it off eBay. I had to go through somebody else and do a transaction and all this kind of stuff. Those were nerve-wracking transactions. And then if you're not talking about toys, one of the hardest things for me to acquire was the actual ice climbing axes that were used as the basis for the design in the Tomb Raider Survivor games. She uses DMM Rebel ice axes. They're in the game. Those climbing axes that she uses are based off real climbing axes that were made by the DMM company in Wales in the early 2000s. And I was able to finally source a complete pair, you know, the pick and the hammer configurations that they were sold in the red color, and I have those. I acquired those last year finally, and that was a proud day for me to finally have those. But right now, I'm working on a new little thing. Not little. I'm working on another thing for my personal collection of pop culture memorabilia, and this one has been a real challenge, and it's in the process right now. But Scott Hughes and I are sworn to secrecy, so we can't tell you what it is. So you'll just have to wait and see. But you will see it when it's done. And I have this. When it gets done, I'm gonna be really, really proud of them. Like, this is gonna be one of the top collectibles in my like this right here is one of the top collectibles. The journey over successfully. This one is going to be like this. It's going to be at this level. Like, I'm so excited. Thank you, Greg. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's always fun to do these when they hit me. And this time it didn't really hit me. Sometimes it's just good to have friends, you know? 2005 Michael, do you ever think you will ever say the phrase "thank you, Sugar Booger" multiple times in one night? No. However, you know, as Doc Holliday said to Wyatt Earp at the end of Tombstone, there's no normal life, Wyatt. There's just life. Now get on with it. And when you're on social media, as you know, there is no normal life. So you just get on with it. So, and the nice thing is I have no problem saying the name Sugar Burger when the guy's been nice and he's been, you know, polite and he's asking nice questions and, you know, he's engaged, and that's great. So, absolutely. Well, Michael, I am doing Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I'm staring at all the boxes to the vintage Mighty Morphin Zords, and I have the Mighty Morphin figures and everything, the Morphin head action figures, all of them complete with the play set over there in the studio. So eventually I will do that. I've got Super Sentai, the whole DVD set, and Mighty Morphin, and I'm going to watch all those and do the whole thing up for sure. That's been an education. It's been a real education. Zev, thank you for the super chat. So I get your dislike of E.T., but what about Goonies, 80s Invaders from Mars, and Cloak and Dagger? Okay. I watched a lot of Cloak and Dagger growing up. The reason that E.T. bugs me and Explorers bugs me and Cloak and Dagger wasn't as troublesome is because while he still got caught up in a fantastical situation, he was not building a spaceship and flying away, nor was he eating Reese's Pieces with an alien that showed up in his backyard. I think a lot of it has to do with if you're a kid on Earth and suddenly there's magic and aliens and stuff. That was where my brain couldn't go. Like, as a kid growing up in 80s Tennessee, I knew there were video game stores. I knew there were people who had guns. I knew there were bad people who had guns. All of that stuff was still very earthbound. While it might not happen to me, it just seemed a little more plausible. And then as far as Goonies goes, I saw Goonies a handful of times as a kid in the 80s. The part of the plot that didn't get away from me was the part where they were trying to save their neighborhood. I'm like, okay, I can get there, right? As a kid, I can get there. I live in a neighborhood. I'd want to save my neighborhood if something was going to happen to it. It started to get really fantastical down toward the bottom, but it never quite, the whole pirate ship coming out of the cove and the big thing and all that stuff. Well done. I don't hate it. Like, I own Goonies on 4K. Like, I can watch Goonies. Part of that Indiana Jones element is in it, so that keeps me engaged. but it is more fantastical than Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger is far more grounded in what it's trying to convey. So, but I own both of those movies. I don't own E.T. or Explorers. Heath, thank you so much for the kind super chat. He says, keep up the great work, man. Your videos are fun. You're welcome. Thank you. Question, if you could time travel to any one movie production to be behind the scenes and be on that set, what movie would that be? God, that's a good question. You know, a long time ago, I would have said Empire Strikes Back, but I don't know if that's true anymore. I'm almost of the opinion that I would want to go back to, and just follow me on this. I would either want to go back to something like Lawrence of Arabia or Where Eagles Dare or 12 O'Clock High. Like those would be fascinating movies for me to have an opportunity to be behind the scenes on. I would love that. And if that wasn't possible, then I would or like Adventures of Robin Hood with Errol Flynn. That would be awesome. Like I would love to see that movie get made. But you know, it's hard to say. There's so many good ones. I mean, I'm worried about that too, Pitstain. I'm worried about that too, but all we can do is just brace ourselves for impact. Oh, thank you, Saron. Thank you. Very kind. Cocaine Bear review when? I don't know. I'm not really a horror movie guy, so I know it's technically not a horror movie, but it's a gory kind of film, and I don't know. Thank you for the kind words, Michael. Much appreciated, man. Much appreciated. I mean, yeah, that's the whole thing. It's not so much about agreement or disagreement for me. It's about intellectual exploration. I don't mind talking to somebody who has a different opinion, because see, I don't approach it from agree or disagree. The moment you think I disagree with you. That's why I hate that phrase that people throw up in the comments when hard disagree or disagree. I hate that because they're coming at it by automatically assuming there's a conflict. Disagreement is conflict, right? I would prefer very much to always just talk about different perspectives as a conversation where everybody is just exploring ideas. Your ideas are different from mine, say about ET, right? And we can have that conversation, because I'm never going to sit back like at Conrad at Movie Oubliette, right? Conrad at Movie Oubliette loves The Explorers. He loves that movie. That's great. I don't want to take that away from him. And I can't. That's the other thing. I can't take that away from him. You can't take somebody else's joy away from them. So when someone accuses you of taking their joy away from them, that's their problem, not yours. That means they are weak. So I don't look at things like agree or disagree. I look at them like you have a take on this in a perspective, and I have a take on this in a perspective. Let's talk. And not in like we're trying to come to peace about something, because I don't come at it like there's conflict. Let's talk about it. Let's explore. Let's enjoy the conversation. But so many people are just like, disagree. And it's like, dude, that's already the wrong attitude to take here. Why, Patton, thank you for the super chat. Why do you think play-size 007 action figure lines remain so untapped? I'm sure likeness rights are more loose through estates. Yeah, and there's a lot of legal stuff that's tied up between Eon Productions and United Artists and all that stuff. It's very hard to predict why that hasn't ever happened. I would kill for an action figure line from the Living Daylights. Like, I would kill for that. And by extension, if that line was part of a larger commemorative 007 action figure line, that would be amazing. But something has prevented it. I can't get over people getting upset at Michael for having his own opinion, especially when he explains his point of view in a rational manner. Yeah, and it gets back to that whole thing of people are just ready to disagree. Well, Jay, we kind of talked about that at the beginning, and our opinions are kind of all over the place, you know. But it's, you know, it's gonna come out, and I hope the quality's good. I don't know, but the accessories are really slipshod, and like we talked about at the beginning, the Last Crusade figure doesn't come with a whip. The Temple of Doom figure doesn't come with a whip. Only the Last Crusade figure comes with a shoulder bag. Hasbro's already messing up. Oh, that's great, Epic Jason. That's great. That's awesome. Yes, Mr. Scary. That was nice. Articulated Ninja saying that those kind things was very galvanizing. Really gave me a morale boost when I needed it the most. Todd Smith, thank you for the super chat. Do you have any thoughts about the Ride Star Tours? The Ride, its gift shop, and its merchandise came out in the mid-'80s. A unique time for Star Wars fans. Never heard you talk about this. I went on Star Tours several times in its lifespan. I went there in 1994 and rode it several times. Really great ride. It was a fun period of Star Wars history. Beyond that, I don't have a lot of direct experience with it because I was only there the one time in 94, but I remember it well. And it was a really cool experience, for sure. You are welcome, Ryan Potter. You are very welcome. Yeah, I'm hoping that I know that Lio wants to drag me into these, but I'm hoping that this will be just the one. So, all right, let's see. I just want to make sure. Okay, JSP, thank you for the super chat. Have you ever seen a finished 2021 movie called New York Ninja? Production started in 1984, put on hiatus indefinitely, and finally finished in 2021. Epic. I've heard about this. I haven't seen it, but I have heard about it. So, Christopher says, love your videos and consider you a great storyteller. Thank you. I especially like your video about how stories should end. I find it more applicable every day. Yeah. People are just like, I don't know. They're hanging on to that one thing. It's almost like they're afraid to go experience something new. And that's weird to me. I don't know why they're like that. When did we lose our sense of adventure? Qui-Gon Jinn, that would be Escape from New York. Let's see. You're adding to the context. I do have an original Beast Wars Pterosaur to compare to the reissue. Pretty similar. Okay. It is, but it is an art form. Something so dumb that anyone can get it, but smart people get more out of it. I guess that's a conversation going on here. It's about The Simpsons, right? Michael, do you think Disney will make an animated series of Indiana Jones? They never have yet. Lucas didn't do it. Disney's making no moves to do it. I don't know. Indiana Jones has always been the underserved franchise with the most potential. It's too bad. Because that's all they see are dollar signs. They don't see potential dollar signs. Star Wars made more money than Indiana Jones at first. Therefore, Star Wars is the one we're going to throw our lot in with. And Lucas was like that too. Alexis, thank you for the super chat. Remember Jabroni and his Muppet making a video about a sail barge? That was my favorite RetroBlasting controversy. What a dweeb. Yeah, that guy, and he didn't believe any of it. He was conning his own audience, which you can see his email in the video I did about it that I had to go put on BitChute of all places, because that guy was gaming the YouTube system to keep all the truth out of it. It was so dumb. I own it all on Blu-ray. I like it. I haven't seen the Disney Plus episodes, but I liked what I saw. I saw the whole original series. It's good stuff. Are there any toy lines you have not bought that you are considering? At the moment, no. Although maybe gargoyles at some point, but at the moment, no. My budget is a little spread thin right now, and we're also saving for a vacation, so I'm trying to do that. So, I have a complete collection of the movie-based Kenner Star Wars toys. I'm not interested in droids and Ewoks in 1985. I have the A-Wing from that because it was I know that was supposed to be a Power of the Force 1985 vehicle. So I have that. And I have the skiff from Power of the Force. But as far as droids and Ewoks, I don't. But as far as anything made that was in the movies, it's depicting something in the movies, and all the various action figures from those movie lines, I have all of those. I have all of it. And yes, it's all original Kenner plastic repro cops. Oh, thank you, Logic. Very kind. Thank you so much. Dan asks me the question of the night and gets a gold star. What Kylie Minogue items are you still after? Well, I'm certainly after my photo with her. I would love to have a photo with her. That'd be great. And the other Kylie Minogue stuff that I'm after right now would probably be, there's a very rare copy of Rhythm of Love, the LP from back in 1990 that had gold foil lettering on it. I would love to have that. I just finished a few months back. I finished my commissioned artwork of Kylie as Lara Croft. So I got that done. I'm going to frame a print of that and put it in my studio. Beyond that, I can't think of anything offhand. I mean, I'm still collecting some albums and stuff. But yeah, that would be about it probably. And then whatever new albums come out, I'm going to jump on that. Jeremy, thank you for the super chat. He says, to circle back to Spielberg films that are controversial within the fandom, what are your thoughts on Hook? The film and toy line were huge for me. I loved the Super Nintendo game. I thought the Super Nintendo game was great. The movie was okay. I had it on video cassette. I watched it several times. The toy line I don't have that much experience with. So I remember seeing it on pegs. But I was living in England at the time, so I didn't see it as often as I would have liked, because the toy stores there were smaller and stuff. So I probably need to research and learn more about it. But yeah, like I said, I love the Super Nintendo game, and the movie was okay. Elwood, thank you for the super chat. Sorry I'm late. What are we talking about? Everything under the sun. We were talking about the Funko Pop thing, and now we're talking about all kinds of stuff. All right. Yes. Yes, they made a slap bracelet that mimics a real whip. Yes, they did. Slam God Adventures of Robin Hood is choice. Yes, I am a Bogey fan. Yes, I can't wait for Maltese Falcon to come out on 4K in a few months. But I love The Big Sleep, Dark Passage, Treasure of the Sierra Madre, Key Largo, High Sierra, We're No Angels. That's a great Bogey film. Yeah, I like Bogey a lot. Casablanca, of course. How could I forget that one? I've got that on 4K thanks to Scott Hughes. The Fantastics, thank you for the super chat. Love RetroBlasting, Michael. Thank you. Favorite line ever from you. I'd rather have a public Pornhub account than be subjected to a Star Wars Facebook group. Is that still true? Yes, it is. And the Facebook groups keep getting worse. Not just the Star Wars ones, all the toy Facebook groups. And when I say toy, I don't mean like pages for businesses or toy companies. I mean fan-run, toy-based Facebook groups. They're the worst. They're the worst thing since the message boards. Like they are. Ugh. Awful. Awful. They attract the worst people, and then the worst people take over because the admins that run those pages are always spineless. They're just wimps, and they're complicit wimps, and they care more about their numbers than they do about pissing off the rabble. And so then the rabble take over, and then the inmates are running the asylum. Horrible, horrible culture. Cute Fluff. What's going on, Cute Fluff? Good to see you. Good to see you. I have not seen that, Jesse. I have not seen that. But I'll look into it. I had an okay day. I was stuck in traffic for half the day and running a lot of errands. But as Fred Aston says a lot in Night Court, I'm feeling much better now. Chris, thank you for the super chat. He says, hey, Michael, love your toy retrospectives. Thank you. Any plans to review the Star Years line from the 80s? I remember loving the comic book miniseries. Yeah, I've got pretty much, I have the lion's share of Star Years. I will do a video at some point. Yep. Elwood, thank you for the super chat. Out of curiosity, how much do you know about how Bob Kane and Bill Finger ripped off the Shadow to make Batman? Well, Melinda did a whole Dreamland about Bill Finger, and the whole Batman thing. So yeah, I'm very aware of how much the Shadow was ripped off. It's I'm more of a Shadow guy than I am I like Batman, but I'm more of a Shadow guy. Like if I had to pick one, it would be the Shadow. Trent, thank you for the kind super chat. Have you had any interest in the fan-made items from the original Tron, such as the tank and Gary Weaver's figures? I'm aware that they're out. I'm aware that they were made. My budget, like I said, has been into other things right now, so I haven't been able to give those things the attention. I had a conversation with the guy that made the tank, and at the time I told him, I said he was trying to like offer to sell me one or whatever, and I just told him, I said, hey man, it looks really cool, it's really great. Unfortunately, I don't have that in my budget right now because it's a pricey item, and understandably so. So I had to pass, but they look very nice. They're very, very nice toys. I said it before it was brought up. Release the RetroBlasting Minogue video. Maybe one day it'll happen. Maybe one day it'll happen. As you should, Cute Fluff. As you should. It's one of the best albums ever made. Take it easy, take it easy, Don. Take it easy. I always watched other people play the card games, Deborah. I never actually had any of those card games myself because it just wasn't really my thing. But I had a lot of friends who were into them. But that was never really my thing. Let's see. Well, that's good to know. I'm aware of Mythic Legions. I'm not really a collector of it. Again, my money is kind of going in another direction right now, but I'm glad to hear that they're a good community. And again, though, are you saying the Mythic Legions Cabal is fan run? Because that if they're fan run and they run a tight ship, that's even more rare. Let's see here. Drew, I went to Second Chance Toys a while back and I picked up a another Last Crusade German motorcycle with rider. And I picked up Jessica Jones Marvel Legends, I believe. And that was about it. I haven't been back in a while. I need to go back. I need to make another trip. Raymond, I love the classic Sergio Leone stuff. The other spaghetti westerns are a crapshoot. You either get something really cool or something really garbage. But that can be fun too. I think if more Facebook toy groups were run by people like Lio Convoy, things would be different. That is true for sure. That is true for sure. James D, thank you for the super chat. He says, would a collective boycott by the Star Wars figure collecting community of present and future Hasbro offerings prove to Hasbro to finally make figures, creatures, ships, playsets we've been asking for years? I don't know. Hasbro's really corporate and really staunch. I don't know if they'd ever own up to that. Like, I don't know if they'd ever admit that you have to connect those dots. Oh, the fans, they would just say something like, oh, the prices have gotten too high or something like that. I don't think they're ever going to take responsibility, honestly. Maximilian, thank you for the super chat. He says, just looked up the SDF1 playset, current pricing. Anyone need a kidney? Yeah, I'm surprised you were able to find one for sale because it took me 4 years to source mine and it wasn't through eBay. I had to get it through a guy in Canada. So yeah. If there have ever been pole position toys, I don't know of them. It'd be awesome, but I don't know of them. Yeah, Peter, I've talked about this before on other videos, but we had a Rambo. We don't know what happened to it, just Rambo. We lost our Tusken Raider. We lost a Wicket. There were a few others. It's hard to remember. But yeah, there were a number of toys that just went missing. It happens. It happens all the time. Nathan, good to see you, man. Are there any movies that you're looking forward to watching, whether new or old? Let's see. I've got some Hong Kong action films from like classics, like 80s and 90s Hong Kong stuff that I want to watch. Tiger Cage trilogy, Millionaire's Express, and then as far as like films I haven't seen yet, I have a number of classics that I haven't opened up yet to watch that I'm slowly going through. And then I'm hoping that Secret of the Incas will come out soon. It is coming out on Blu-ray. I just got to check the date. I think it's late March because I really want to get Secret of the Incas to have a nice copy of it. I've got a bootleg copy that's okay, but I want this new transfer of Secret of the Incas. I can't wait to have that. I really want to sit down and just watch that in good quality. Scuba Pete is here. Do you own a piece of a Spitfire or a Hurricane? Somebody kindly donated to us during one of the live streams a few years ago, an actual Spitfire instrument from the instrument panel. It was, so I have that from a Spitfire. I almost one time bought a Spitfire front windshield off eBay. It was a stupid amount of money, but I almost bought it. And it's just a big piece of glass. But I almost bought that one time. But no, aside from that instrument, I don't have any original parts of a Spitfire. No. But that would be funny, wouldn't it? Slowly over your lifetime, buy a Spitfire piece by piece. Of course, the engine, you know, you can't exactly, well, maybe you could buy a Merlin engine piece by piece. Crazier things have happened. Elwood Jacobs, thank you for the super chat. What's the most obscure, bizarre movie or cartoon-based toy line you'd be interested in doing as a feature, like Kenner's Beetlejuice or Playmates, Addams Family, Ertl's live-action Mario figures? Obscure. Well, the Tonka Willow line I would do. I feel like I'm forgetting one. There's the Tonka Willow line. I'm also planning on doing, and I would call this obscure in our community, but at some point I'm going to do a 2-part retrospective on the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movie and then the Playmates toy line as a part 2. Which I'd call that esoteric at this point, if not obscure. Let's see. Oh, and of course I want to do Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So, all right. Well, yes, I have read the DC Comics Shadow. I have the first issue for myself in my collection. I never did play the arcade game. I didn't even know there was one. I'll have to go look into that. Thanks to Wolfie here, who is a good friend of the channel. Wolfie has basically hooked me up with, without my knowledge, I didn't ask for it, he just surprised me with basically the entire first wave of Dino Riders. So I've got to get on that and do that video at some point, because I promised him I would, and I will. There's so many toy lines and there's so little time. But yeah, no Cornholio. I've watched maybe like 2 episodes of it, and that's about it. Let's see. Oh, and my opinion of Dino Riders so far: very fragile, very expensive, really nervous to handle them. Put it that way. I have not watched the Sartana series. But anything with Lee Van Cleef I'll watch for sure. Well, Trent, we talked about this earlier. I won't be able to do that video until I get the freeze chamber done, and I'm working on the freeze chamber to get that filmed and everything. So the Last Starfighter vehicle is going to be a little bit down the road. So I'll tell you this, Drew. I'm excited about just doing a stream with Bobby on Valaverse. It will be a success for me if there's anything released or announced that's related to Eclipse. If there's anything Eclipse, it's a win for me. I'm a simple man. I like, pretty dark-haired women and breakfast food, as Ron Swanson said. So yeah. Let's see. The Fantastics. Thank you for the super chat. Have you ever reviewed the Centurions? No. But guess what? If you type RetroBlasting Centurions into YouTube, you'd have your answer. But no, I plan to. I just haven't done it yet. Yes, the Robin Hood project is actually part of the reason we're planning our vacation to go to England next year, or to go back to England, because filming on the Robin Hood documentary hopefully will happen. We will be coordinating that as part of our vacation. So that's crucial to that production getting done. The Robin Hood documentary is extremely important to me. It's forever been a labor of love. And I really want to do the most comprehensive Robin Hood film and TV retrospective possible. So yeah, that whole vacation next year is incorporating some really important video shoots into that I'm hoping that I can plan and confirm by the time we get there. So yeah. Like I said, Serge, I think I said it in another video. My thoughts on Lego Indiana Jones are, it was a nice line, but it's Lego, and I like Lego, but it doesn't really evoke the whole spirit of Indiana Jones for me. I prefer action figures. I like Lego. I like Space Lego a lot, and I like Castle Lego a lot. Licensed Lego, mileage may vary. I think Lego's done a nice job with Indiana Jones, but it's like every Indiana Jones line is not complete. So Cute Fluff bought some Dino Riders. Let's see. Elwood, thank you for the super chat. As you're a Dick Tracy fan, would you like me kill to see a Golden Age style Batman and or Shadow movie done like Beatty's Tracy's style wise? Well, I would have preferred that Beatty do his movie without himself. Like I like the style of the Beatty film, but I didn't like the plot, the way that rolled out. I didn't like Beatty casting himself as Dick Tracy. So there were a lot of things I do differently there. But yeah, I think overall, in the grand scheme of things, it'd be a neat thing to see. I mean, the Shadow's production design was basically like Dick Tracy, except without the primary colors. Well, funny you should mention MASH. Tim Ward, our beloved admin, he has the entire MASH figure line. All of it. The vehicles, the play set, all the different figure variants. He's got it all. So at some point, I'm going to go visit him and we'll do MASH together for sure. I have the whole series on disc. No, this is an ad vintage hat. It's not a Penman hat. This is an ad vintage. I have a Penman hat. No, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't have a Penman hat. I have an Adventure Built hat that I've had since 2004. That John Penman reblocked for me wonderfully, and then Ad Vintage came around and they nailed the Cairo look. So this is Ad Vintage out of Germany. Thank you for being here, KBA. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, I don't know why he's holding on to that. I don't get it at this point. Yeah, Drew, it's bizarre. The whole Warren Beatty thing holding on to Dick Tracy is just bizarre. Aren't you referring to the late 2000? Well, see, when I hear 2006, which is when that came out, I think of that being mid 2000s. But did you not see my video of unboxing the Grail from the UK? You should go back and check out the RetroBlasting video, Grail from the UK Unboxed or something like that. It's called Grail from the UK or something like that. You should check out that video and then you'll have your answer. Elwood, thank you for the super chat. Thought it could be an all-encompassing endeavor like Lego. Would you consider doing a feature on Happy Meal fast food toys? Happy Meal fast food toys. Maybe, but I don't have many of them. And that's a rabbit hole that I'd be very reticent to go down from a money perspective, because I've got my funds and my content calendar tied up in different directions. So I would love Air Wings from Star Fox, Deborah. I agree. Oh, KBA, I didn't see that for the vacation. That's very kind, sir. Thank you. Very, very kind. Thank you, Scuba, for putting that up there. Thank you, Scuba. Yeah, check it out. I think you'll be very curious about that. It's very important now on YouTube, since they don't actually honor anybody's subscriptions. Very important to regularly check the channel pages, the formal channel pages of the channels that you like and follow. You cannot rely on YouTube to show you everything they're doing. They will screw you over. So you gotta become a more not you, Greg, and I'm saying you in the general sense. You out there, everybody who uses YouTube, including myself, we have to become more active and engaged users of the platform to support all the channels that we like. And let's see. How many toy lines would you say you have a collection from in total? Oh God. 50? Maybe that's too high. 40? I'd have to count them up. I'm not sure. Yeah. Do you think the new Russell T Davies era in Doctor Who will see a bunch of new character option stuff? That's what worries me, is the Disney Plus involvement. That's the part that worries me. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if that will affect it. It might. I don't know if Hasbro will touch it at all. But yeah, I would like to see new character option stuff a lot. But the Disney thing really worries me, for sure. Cute Fluff says, I was talking about your incredible Star Wars Han and Luke uniforms. Oh, thank you. And Indiana Jones costume. I love how you found authentic and close to the character pieces. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I just like having stuff that's like, this shirt is Raiders correct. It's from Magnoli, who was a longstanding friend of mine and still is. He and I go way back to the Indiana Jones message boards before he ever had a clothing company. And this is his Raiders shirt, which, you know. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad you caught that detail, because again, we will get you one, Drew. Like, there are plenty of British friends in our community. We will find you one, and it will be complete and unbroken. So good that you passed on that. Very wise. I mean, I've worked that into a few things. I've done a video about the original Star Wars trilogy. I tend not to talk about movies, though I would like to do it more. I haven't done that many of them, though, so far, but I would like to do more of that. But there's just so many movie channels. Like, I feel like I'd be spitting into the wind. But I do want to do that. I have some ideas for doing that, so we'll see. Is there any toy white whale? No, not at the moment. No, there's no toy white whale at the moment. There are non-toy things I'm chasing at the moment, but no toy white whale. What original art from a toy line would you love to own? Original art from a toy line. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know. Maybe like the original painting for Wheeljack that came on the G1 box, something like that, or maybe the original Hector Garrido painting of Snake Eyes with Timber from the action figure card back. I mean, that stuff would be cool, but it would be so cost prohibitive. Like, you know. Elwood, wow, thank you for the super chat. He says, last question, so I better make it count. Have you ever read the Bantam books, Indiana Jones paperbacks, or the old Batman animated series comics? I have read the Indiana Jones books. I have read some of the animated series comics, but not all of them. But I've read a good number of them. So, take it easy, John. Have a good night. I'm probably going to wind this down too, because I think it's getting late. So, Serge, I have some videos on my Patreon that go in depth on. I have Patreon videos that go in depth on the shoulder bag and the hat. I plan to do more. I can't remember if those videos are for mid-tier and up, or if they're for top tier. I can't remember. They might be for everybody, but I think they're mid-tier. Oh yeah, thank you, Drew. Appreciate you answering that for him. No, I don't own any graded stuff. I'm not willing to. I don't want to pay somebody else to tell me what they think the condition is. I have eyes. I can see. Don't know what those are, Deborah. Are those comic lines or is that something new they've brought out? Jamie, thank you so much for the very kind super chat. I appreciate your well thought out videos as well as your integrity. You are a class act. Thank you very much. It's very kind. It's very, very kind. Well, Largo, I do have, I'll run this down. So for the prep for this documentary, no, I will not be in a costume of any kind. I will be on camera hosting it, but I will not be in a costume. Okay, so in the 2 years that I've been working on this Robin Hood thing, I have had to commission a few different things. I commissioned an accurate replica, material, details, everything, of Errol Flynn's hat from the movie Robin Hood or Adventures of Robin Hood. It wasn't offered anywhere. There, you can get Robin Hood hats all day, Robin Hood hats, but you cannot find anybody that makes it like it was for Errol Flynn. The closest I've ever seen was the hat worn by Carrie Elways in Men in Tights, which Mel Brooks clearly loved the Errol Flynn movie. So he sort of recreated that hat in green. Errol Flynn's hat is actually a brown suede. So I had that meticulously recreated as a commission by a professional sort of Renaissance fair / medieval hatter. I had Albion Swords make me a functional replica of Errol Flynn's sword from Robin Hood, the one he uses to fight Guy of Gisborne. So I had that made. And then I was able to get in contact with the man the bowyer, the bow maker, who makes all the bows for Ridley Scott's movies. He's out of England. And funnily enough, his company is also called Albion. And he was able to get me on his queue, and he made me a medieval longbow, like an actual longbow, the same type that he makes for Ridley Scott's medieval movies. So he made them for Kingdom of Heaven and Russell Crowe's Robin Hood for Ridley Scott. So I have those 3 pieces. I also have I have a quiver, of course. I have medieval arrows with the goose fletchings. And then I also have a sword that is the same. I have a sword that is the same style and type, functional steel, that was identical to the one that Kevin Costner has when he hits Marion in the butt right before he jumps on the horse and rides off to get away from Guy of Gisborne. Kevin Costner's sword in Prince of Thieves changes every 5 minutes. It's hilarious. But that particular sword is the one that I like in all the production photos and stuff. So that sword is the one that I wanted to acquire. And I've had that sword since I was a teenager. So, yeah, I have a few things like that I've been prepping for that documentary. But that bow from Ridley Scott's bow maker, well, depends, Sugar. I actually have the whole second series as well. They're just not on display. I'll try and dig them out and take a picture for you of what I have and what I don't have. So I'll let you know. But thank you for the kind offer. If I find out I'm missing some and you have some, definitely let's talk. I used to before it got blazingly hot. Now I don't go anymore. New Wave Pop. I've been working on a Robin Hood documentary in pre-production for like 2 years now. I'm trying to get a Robin Hood documentary done. I love Robin Hood. So that's all there's to say about that right now. Yeah, Albion makes amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Yes, Anselin, I know it's a milliner. Let's not be all like, hey, look what I know. if you ever do a video on your historical swords, aside from your live stream of Bobby Val, I'd love to see it. Yeah, it's too bad that I didn't have that Errol Flynn sword at the time because it was still being made. I had to wait a year because you get on Albion's queue and then you wait like a long time. Elwood, thank you for the super chat. One very last thing. I saw you had a Kenner shadow figure. I recommend taking a loose or spare Kenner penguin cape and giving it to the shadow to vastly improve its look, in my opinion. My two shadow figures have capes. I have the one who's like invisible and the arm comes up and he's got a blue cape. And then I have the one with the two guns and he's got a black cape with a red interior. Are you saying add the penguin cape to it? Prime Syndicate is here, the master of the Grail Diary. My God. Thank you, Prime Syndicate. Thank you very much. I will be doing a video on that Grail Diary at some point, I promise. It's nice, Fantastics. I hope it keeps going on the upward trajectory. I hope. It's always nice to see. But yeah, I hope it keeps going. It was fun having you here, Sugar Booger. Been a pleasure talking to you as well. My own custom ideal figure. If you're talking about a figure of me, I don't want a figure of me. But if you're talking about like my ideal action figure, I'd want like a Lara Croft, like classic Lara Croft. Yeah, that's what I would want. I have some recipes that people have had success with, but I've never gone down that road. Yeah, I like I said, I will be doing more Lego videos, and the Forestmen are part of that. I have the Forestmen's secret hideout. So yeah, I've had that since we were kids in England. So no. I want her to look detailed, like in other words, her classic look, but as a real person. Like I don't want a polygonal Lara. I want a real person looking Lara that has that outfit and those weapons and that hairstyle and that belt buckle and all that stuff. Yes, Joseph. If you watch our live stream series called Ancient Mysteries, then you'll see us talking about that series. So Sal from 2 Cents Toys and I do a live stream called Ancient Mysteries, and we talk about that show. So thank you for being a patron, man. And I'm sorry about that Night Raven, but I hope it gets better. I really do. What would be classic Lara Croft? Classic Lara Croft is, well, just look on the box cover. Okay. When I say look on the box cover of Tomb Raider 1, I don't mean look at it to think about how the figure should look. It needs to look like a real human being. And those graphics are trying in 1996 to depict a human being, sort of. Okay. What I mean is, the hair with the braid and the belt with the blue top and the shorts and the tall boots with the red laces and the two nickel-plated semi-automatics and the holsters and the brown backpack and all that stuff on a person that's a woman who is what that person would look like if they weren't polygonal graphics. That's what I mean. Do you want to go to bed? I mean, I'm probably about to end it in a minute, but why are you hoping to stick around to the end, or did you just get here? Michael, that sounds great, but he doesn't know me and I'm small fry to him. No, that's not what I'm saying, Christopher. You got to remember the polygonal graphics at the time were primitive, so all of that was accidental to a degree, and some of it wasn't intended, and some of it was intended by the marketing people and not by the programmers, and so there was all that stuff going on. So all I'm saying with that is no. I'm referring to a really cool and highly detailed figure, but no, I don't want Toblerone boobs or anything like that. Well, like I just said, Prime Syndicate, I have a handmade longbow from the guy who makes them for Ridley Scott's movies. So I need to get into it when it warms up a little bit. So yeah. Well, I appreciate that, Tim, but I am, compared to tested, I'm nothing. Yes, they are. As long as it's a real war. Yes. Right, but here's the thing. I don't want the figure to look like a janky model. I want the figure to interpret what that janky model was trying to convey. Make sense? I don't know. I assume maybe. I thought Scuba was a mod in my chat. But maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. Yeah, he's a mod. I just looked at the YouTube page. My favorite toy scale, probably 3 3/4 inch, but as long as a figure line is done well and has a world building aspect, I'm fine with slightly larger scales as well. Yeah, exactly. We don't want the janky. We don't want it interpreted literally, like, you know. So. Oh, Adam Savage is really approachable. Well, that's great to know. Truly, that's really great to know. Oh boy. What? So yeah. All right. Well, I think we have reached the end of the internet, everybody, and everything's winding down here. So, well, I like Eclipse a lot. Okay, but I also want a dedicated Lara Croft. Eclipse doesn't look like Lara Croft. It's an Advintage, 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 out of Germany. It's the best Raiders of the Lost Ark hat maker out there. So, and you do too, Cute Fluff. Have a great night. Epic says, before you end, just wanted to let you know I did a comparison video of the old and brand new custom made. Okay, cool. Awesome. You're welcome, Largo. Thank you. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining me tonight and just hanging out with me. I really appreciate it, because I was bored. So if you're talking about TVs, I don't know, you could be into them. I don't know what that means, but I like them. You're welcome, Steven. You are welcome. Troy, have a great night. Say hi to Netter for me. And yeah, I'll be back. I promise. All right, everyone. I will talk to you guys on the next video. Working on one now. See you soon.